Yeah, man. I mean, we trying to get 3-Bit to post more in his OnlyFans account on our Discord, but he just won't do it. Like he gave up on it. I feel bad for everybody in there. You know, they've been paying him every month, and there's no content and stuff. Oh wait, we're live. Oh, oops. Hey.
Live.
Oh, what's
Live.
up, everybody? How's it going? Welcome to Xbox Ultimate Podcast, and this is episode number 199. As our good friend 3-Bit is in Paris right now, we are here to give you an awesome show about awesome games. And we're going to have some fun talking about all the awesome games releasing right now, because there is a shit ton of them. And it's hard to keep up. Plus, also, there's news about Xbox going to Tokyo Game Show and kind of what their plans are, and some other stuff like that. But yeah, this is a big week for gaming, because we have the game of the generation just came out for PlayStation potentially as well. So we'll discuss that and stuff. So
Wrap it up, Nintendo. You don't need to be here anymore.
Yeah,
There's a new king in town.
yeah. Hey, maybe it's time for Mario to hang up his cap. You know.
Yep.
We can start collecting that retirement from the plumbers union. I don't know.
That's a lot of cap.
Anyway, it's we'll have some fun talking about some of the other gaming news and stuff that's going on around there. But hey, Fuzzy, how are you doing, bro?
Oh, good. Glad to be here with you guys. Just got to talk about a movie called Milk and Cereal. Probably not exactly what you think. Cereal spelled with an S instead of with a C.
Oh.
But yeah, that was fun. Been playing some oldies, just kind of getting gamer score points and clearing hard drive space and whatnot. Finally returned to Quantum Break, which I haven't finished. Loved it, but there was a part where I just kind of like fell off and decided to revisit it and go through that. Kind of rediscovering State of Decay 2. Looking forward to 3 and more info about it, and just had a urge to hack at zombies kind of thing. So that's been a nice one to revisit. And while it's in Game Pass, playing Mafia, the definitive edition. Been enjoying that, and it's pretty much like a movie that you get to star in kind of thing. I do wish there was a little more freedom, kind of like what you have with Mafia 3, but just love the story, love the the figuring out how to get away or escape the police chases and things like that. But enjoying that. Then always, Forza Horizon 5. Finally got my Lucid Air Sapphire and that, and happy with it. But other than that, just been looking at Twitter sideways, because apparently, people are all jazzed up about, I guess you could say, family-friendly games in the high-end console market again. Who knew? But I'm pretty sure we'll get into it.
Yeah. There's been some conversation about that. Does Xbox need this, or does Xbox need that? And we'll get into some of that in a little while. But it's an interesting thing that always seems to happen when somebody else has a game that is a highly rated game on Meta or a success. It's like, why doesn't Xbox have that? And despite the things that Xbox has that other people don't, that was just attempted by one of the platform holders and failed miserably as well. So anyway, we'll get into some of that. But hey, Pong Soul, how are you doing, man? We had a fun show last night.
We did. Back again. Surprise, everybody. Welcome to another beautiful Friday evening on the Fun Speculation Network. Xbox Ultimate, man. Good to be here. Might be playing what turns out to be my game of the year. We will see as we move forward. But Steele and I started the campaign this morning for, of course, Space Marine 2. This game, wow. Wow. Hats off to Saber. Pop the corks. You guys knocked this shit out of the park. So I have no idea how this game scored by anybody under 8. can't imagine. It runs great, it looks great, it feels great, it sounds great. It's a beautiful game, and it's a gamer's ass game. It's just go kick a bunch of ass and have smiles on your face the entire time while you're doing it, while your guy's covered in gore. And it's not a simple romp, kind of like the first Space Marine was. This is intense. This is like, we're not even playing on the hardest difficulty. We're playing on what they say the game was made to be around, but it's probably one up from what most people would play on as normal. But that's what the developers put as a descriptor, is that this was the way the game was intended. You are under duress at all time. You are running out of ammo and having to go melee fully a lot. You are having to cover each other's asses a lot if you're playing co-op. The other, hats off to Saber, AI bots that actually give a shit and do shit. Because Steele and I got our butts saved by the bot a bunch of times in this game already, and he goes and kicks some ass. So, but Warhammer 40K is back, folks. This will go down already. I can tell already. Again, I love a lot of their strategy games. Their RPGs. I think there's a ton that are really worthy that never got the respect that they deserve. In fact, there's some out right now. Rogue Trader, from what I played during the free-to-play weekend on Xbox a couple months ago, is simply fantastic. I can't wait to pick that up and go play it. So they have a lot of that goodness. Warhammer 40K Martyr is an amazing action RPG game that doesn't get enough credit for what it is. Again, Diablo clone, it doesn't matter. It's in the Warhammer universe. It's beautiful. It's amazing. So they've had a lot of great games, but they've never had this level. Triple A polish on a game. This is going to be the first Warhammer game, I think, that takes the next step forward for this franchise. And is going to set the expectations. We thought Darktide was going to do this when we first started seeing Darktide. Darktide looked like a AAA game, sounded like a AAA game, but when it came out, it was broken, right? And it lost all that steam, it lost all that momentum, and they really, even though they've done a lot to fix that game and it plays much better than it used to, they really never got to recapture that. This game right here in Space Marine 2 is going to keep it from the start to wherever they take this game. I have yet to play PvP. Steele played about 5 hours, 6 hours of PvP by himself with randos and loves it. And Steele is very, very picky, okay, when it comes to especially PvP multiplayer shit. Loves this. Classic. He calls it old school, right? In a good way. It brings you back to the early days. It's Gears of War without the wall bouncing and the shotties, right? It's a much more tactile, slower paced third person shooter, because it's not a cover based shooter like Gears either. But it feels kind of that same. It's super weighty. Saber understood the job, and they went out and crushed it and then added some extra for everybody. This is a Warhammer universe that you can fall in love with. You don't have to be a Warhammer fan. Overall, Steele has never really played any really big time Warhammer games or for any extended period of time. He's like interested in the story. Like he played the first one, loved Titus, but like he's getting into the lore now because of how the Space Marines are, how the world actually revolves in this universe around these brothers for the Emperor, and it's very interesting because it's a mix of sci-fi with very orthodox religious type language built in, and even ceremonies built in. Everything is got this mix, this blend, and man, oh man, just a blast, man. Different from the first one in a lot of ways. The pairing and the dodging, yes, it doesn't work all the time. This is not a perfect game. It doesn't work all the time, especially when you're surrounded and there's tons of enemies, right? And you're battling. Very hard to pull off some things that you want to on a consistent basis sometimes. But that doesn't make it any less fun. We played 3 main missions in the campaign. We actually took on one of the side missions because the side missions, the special ops missions, are tied into the campaign. So they kind of are like as the story branches out, things happen. Other teams do other things around Titus and his team to build in the story. They're helping them out. You can take the roles of those in the special ops. And so Steele and I went and did a spec ops level as well. And it was awesome because it tied right into the story. You got to play with some different characters, but you actually got to play with the alternate classes because that's what the spec ops is too. You earn experience there, and you can pick out your classes. You can load your loadouts. All that kind of stuff is available to you in the spec ops, just like it is in PvP. So that gave us a different feeling outside of the campaign while we were still kind of like progressing the story in a way. Masterfully done here. Just awesome. Had one time coming back from the spec ops mission where I froze up, had to quit out of the game. Of course, I'm playing on PC. Had to quit out of the game, come back in. But Steele and I joining Steele, flawless. Didn't have any hiccups performance-wise so far. Again, I am running on one of the higher-end PCs out there, so take that for what it is. Oh, no, it's Alex did a great review today of performance, called it almost perfect, but he did say lower-end PCs are going to have a problem because this is a CPU-heavy game. So go watch that if you are interested, if you want to know what your PC is going to do. But like I said, early on, I see this easily being a 9.5 for me. We'll see if it winds up kind of topping Dragon's Dogma 2 for me so far this year. But right now, I'm just having an absolute fucking blast. Steele and I had such a good time this morning, and we are going to continue that tomorrow morning as well in the campaign. So we should be able to finish out the campaign. The campaign supposedly runs about 10 hours, roughly, somewhere in that neighborhood. Although if we're going to do spec ops missions, that'll definitely extend it. But I want to try some PvP as well. We're going to do that tomorrow as well. Great game, though. I can't recommend it enough. If you're on the fence, go get it. We were talking to people in our chat today. People who were playing on the Series X said it's playing very well on the Series X. Everybody that I've been seeing that's had it on console really hasn't had any major issues at all. Go pick this game up if you just want to go rip and tear. I'm stealing from Doom, but that's what you do in these games too. Yeah. Go pick this game up. It's worth it. You get the campaign, you get the co-op, you get the spec ops side missions, you get the PvP. They've already got a whole roadmap that they've already released telling everybody what's going to be coming. They're going to expand this out. Sure, there's not a whole lot of maps in the PvP up front. Sure, you could nitpick that. You could say that the spec ops missions are just rerunning kind of the same missions over and over again. Sure, all that's very true, but they have a plan for this game, and this game is already hitting 130, almost 140,000 early release people on Steam concurrently. It's getting mixed reviews due to other things outside of the game because some people, it makes you log in if you want to do cross-play co-op with console players. You have to use the Epic Online services, and it doesn't tell you that up front. And PCMR, we know how touchy they are. It asks you to log in right away, kind of forced. Oh no, it's Alex said if you don't have any console players that you're planning on playing with, you can actually just delete it and go ahead and play with PC players only. So it's not needed, but that's where a lot of the mixed reviews are coming from. There's some performance, people complain about performance here and there, but otherwise, that's it. Otherwise, everybody's playing this game so far that I've seen, outside of a few duds here and there, PC Gamer, which is the same as Kotaku now, all raving about this game. This game is well deserving of its score. Actually, the score should probably be, I believe, probably mid 80s to upper 80s if it wasn't for those couple like PC Gamer that brought it down. It's well deserving of that. So go get this game. If you're on the fence, you're going to have a lot of fun. Period, point blank. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I played the like first intro? Kind of mission intro last night, like after it finally finished installing for me. And my first impression, like just my immediate reaction was, wow, the graphics are really good. Like I was not actually expecting it to look that good. Just the image quality on the screen of what I was looking at, I was like, wow, okay, there's a lot of detail. It's crystal clear. I went into the settings to kind of lock the frame rate so it wasn't varying, because it was getting really good performance, but I went ahead and did it like at like I think at max 60 just to have it like run ultra smooth, right?
Sure.
And like I
Sure.
did that, and like it was butter and running native resolution. Like
Me too.
yeah, and I which
Stupid.
is 30, like for my monitor it was 3440 by 1440.
I'm running 4K native, Math,
Yeah,
on my OLED.
but
With all the stuff going on the screen with literally hundreds of enemies, I haven't had a single drop that you would ever notice ever. I like nothing.
yeah, that's
Like, it's crazy.
performance is like, for the amount of detail and everything in this game, was kind of like astounding to me, comparatively to a lot of the other games that are. I don't know what engine they use. Is it their own engine?
Swarm. Yeah.
Okay,
It's
like
a Swarm.
because
It's the same one for World War Z. It's the same engine.
right, yeah. I mean, this engine is just cooking,
Yeah.
man. And this is a part of the conversation where everybody's like, "Oh, everything needs to be made in Unreal Engine 5." Well, look, okay, this game looks fantastic. It plays fantastic. And I'm getting native resolution running at fucking over 60 frames. I actually just capped it at 60, so that way I wouldn't have it wouldn't be jumping around as much. But like it's running ultra smooth at 60 and native resolution, and I'm like, with everything turned up, like a max ultra quality, and it's just running great. So that was my first impression. Second impression was the actual feel and smoothness of the controls. It just felt good. It just felt good, looked good, played good. The guns feel good. The movement feels good. The sword kind of hack and slash combat feels good. The parry system feels good. Like, I like how there's like the different characters where you have to react differently to their different moves, and there's kind of like a telling of what you're supposed to do to initiate that. It's kind of like they're taking things from different games, like that kind of reminds me a little bit of like Doom. Some of the stuff, like, okay, a different color determines kind of what you should do to react, or if they're blinking, you can do finisher moves and stuff like that, and to rebuild your shields up and stuff as well, right? So that gameplay wise, and you feel like a badass, and you feel like you're kind of overwhelmed, but you still can manage to find out how to get out of it, right? So like I was loving the gameplay. And then the third takeaway I had was the story, because after the intro, that whole scene, I don't want to spoil anything. Yep. But there's this whole cutscene that takes place, and I was just like, this is pretty fucking badass, right? Like the whole thing there with like, there's another character that is talking to you and telling you these things, and kind of telling you what's going on and what's going to happen and stuff. And it just that at that moment, I'm like, okay, this is pretty fucking cool, right? It's pretty fucking cool, So overall, man, it's like what you could ask for. I haven't dove into any kind of co-op or any kind of PvP or anything, but I did watch Steel's multiplayer gameplay. It looks great. I was able to catch a little bit, just kind of glance to see y'all playing this morning. Was it just you and Steel? Was there somebody else?
No, that was the bot.
Okay.
And he looks like a player. Like, he acts like a player, like legit. Like, it's crazy, man. Like, we were just walking around in the main base, and he just started randomly walking in directions. And Steele's like, did somebody join us?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. And he's like, oh my God, because he was just randomly doing shit.
Yeah.
It's very well done. The AI is very well done. Yeah.
It's a game that has a complete package, right? I don't know how long the campaign is. I don't know what people have been saying about that or anything. But it's doing really well, selling really well, and reviewed pretty good. So yeah, I got good things to say about it, and I would definitely recommend anybody checking out. And I did decide to get it on PC mainly for if I play PvP, because Steel and Pong got it on PC as well. But like for Xbox, all the gamers that are playing on Xbox as well, like it seems like that version is like you said, playing great, because I keep
Yes.
seeing people post about how smooth it's running on the Series X. Yeah, man. Hey, it's great to have engine variety out there, right? For these
It's
developers.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Steel was talking about it too, because you know how much he loves Gears, right? He's a Gears head.
Gorgeous. When you get that armor, like,
yeah.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I was looking at the armor, I'm like, man, it looks
Detail
really freaking
and
cool.
the detail everywhere is just off the charts, and it doesn't stop. It's just like the little things too, like, and it's obviously the devs themselves understanding their own engine and taking full advantage. But it's just all the little stuff that you don't know or don't realize until it's there, and you're like other games just they miss that. Like, they don't do that kind of stuff. Even in the sound, ACG pointed out the sound in his review too, and I gotta say, he's spot on with the sound, especially the spatial sound. If you're wearing headphones, I suggest either you should have a really good surround sound setup or wear headphones on this, because the spatial sound will save your ass, because shit is coming from every which way, but it actually does work. Because there's these creatures that come a little bit at like chapter 2 or 3, that are all over the place, and one came from behind me. The only reason why is because I heard him coming down, and I dodged at the last minute, and it saved my ass big time. And it works. But just little things, even during the cutscene, one of the scenes, Titus has his arm up and he puts it down. He's got chains on his arm, and we were watching the scene, and he's talking. There's people talking, but as he put his arm down, you could hear the chains clinking.
Yeah.
As he put his arm down. Like, that's things that not every dev pays attention to. Like, it just fit. Also, I was like, is that the chains clinking? And Steele's like, yeah, it was. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. It's that little, the attention to detail that sets this also apart. Yeah, man. Wow. What a game, man. What a game to get in 2024 on top of all this other shit. God, man. Crazy. Game that we never even thought was going to be made. Space Marine 1 wasn't the biggest hit
like
of all time.
12 or 13 years between the sequels.
And here they go big. And they go big with it.
And this, there was actually, I mean, we're kind of getting into the main thing. I want to talk about this game, but like, there was a post I put in our DMs a little while ago about, and this is like something we've talked before in the industry about, right? This is from somebody on Twitter named Thunderbrush, who has he's like 22,000 followers. Says he's a character art director of Meta Studios, and he's basically a game developer. And he said, I remember being at a certain studio and working with a designer on a brilliant pitch for a Warhammer 40K PvP game focused on Space Marines versus Chaos, only to be told by leadership nobody would ever play that. So funny thing that he said, and while posting a screenshot of the 24-hour peak of 134,000 players and 117,000 players playing that game at the current time. And it just kind of goes to say, like, these publishers a lot of times are chasing what they think is the trends. They chasing what they use with market research and focus groups and all these kind of things. And, you know, like, this was something we've complained in the past about Ubisoft, which we have some good Ubisoft news coming soon as well, where they dick around with all these kind of things. It's like, oh, maybe we can't do this because nobody's going to play this, or like, we think this genre's dead, or, you know, we got to figure out how to monetize it. We'll start with that. And then we'll pick a game and we'll make a game out of the monetization scheme. You know, we can't make that. We can't figure out how to monetize it. You know, like, I should be speaking in a French accent. I don't know why all of a sudden. Yeah, it's Ubisoft Austin, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, there is like all these publishers and that always kind of take this mentality, right? And, you know, PlayStation did it earlier this generation. We need to make more games of service. We're going to have all games of service, 12 games as a service games. Oh shit, we suck at this. Let's cancel half of them. Then it was like a bunch of wasted time and effort and all these other kind of things, right? Xbox has done it in the past, but I mean, tons. Every publisher is guilty of this, pretty much, right? Just trying to see what's the most popular thing going on right now. We need our version of that. We need to figure out how to do this. We need to figure out how to do that. Ignoring things that have been popular in the past that have chances to be successful, or to take something and foster it and to keep growing it, making it bigger, and losing the faith, or losing the plot of really what it's all about, is just making something great and then growing it from there, right? Something that you're passionate about creating. And this is another sign, because these are the kind of games, Pong and Fuzzy, that like aren't supposed to be able to be successful anymore. A game that has a single player, multiplayer, co-op, all launching at the same time, that's more of a traditional style game that, you know, is kind of same format that could have released in like the 360 or Xbox One generation, where you have this a campaign that's kind of more, I guess you could say, linear style, right? And then you go through to there's extra content you can have. There's a little bit of a roadmap here, but we're not like really calling this the huge games as a service machine either. You know what I mean? It's more about just, hey, we're promising to support this game, you know, and ultimately, hey, this is resonating. This is resonating with players, right? And people are getting excited and jumping on and playing this Warhammer game, which is it's a popular franchise. Let's be real. It's never done numbers that are just
Warhammer's
absolutely massive in the gaming space. Like they're have good numbers, a lot of AA games, right?
Tons of AA.
But here we have this game that is kind of ascending beyond what we ever traditionally expect from a Warhammer game to be, and it's because of the effort and time and quality that they put into it, and it's shining through, man. So people obviously have had a taste for these kind of games and
Stop
are excited
overthinking.
for
Right, Mav?
100%, man. Like,
Fuzz, we've all talked about this. These publishers, these devs now, they overthink shit. Again, there's room for all types of games. There's rooms for the really deep emotional games and all that kind. There's room for everybody. Okay, you can try to make what you want to make, but the chasing trends. But the one that's been forgotten, it's just the pure fun, kick-ass type game that we used to get. Like, everybody stopped making those games. Like, all of a sudden, it's like the whole industry, like a lot of things in society, is all run by one overarching cabal at some point, and they all make the same decision at the same fucking time, and then all of a sudden everybody just stops, bro. Just, again, like fighting games, all of a sudden pretty much just all stop being made, right? We've gone through all these patterns. Well, one of them was just the random kick-ass fun gamer-ass games that we got during the 360 era. The PS4 generation and Xbox One generation, they forgot all about those games. They basically just stopped altogether. Not to say that there was never being made. Of course there was. AA, single A, indies. There was still a ton of people making them. But I'm talking about really, really well made, you know, high-end stuff, AAA type quality stuff that we used to get on a regular basis. There's a game right now that I'm hoping is coming backwards compatibility from Xbox, because they now own Activision, and that's Singularity. It's a game that hardly anybody really remembers or played. But it was just one of so many during the 360 generation, but I hope people get to go back and play that, because that's a game that deserves a sequel this day and age. But because they were making those types of games a lot back then, and then all of a sudden just all disappeared. That's what this game is. That's what Helldivers 2 was. That's why Helldivers 2 blew up. I want this to be the biggest and baddest. I want these games to blow up when they show up, because I want the companies to wake up and realize we got to start making this shit again. There is a huge market of gamers that, yes, they still love all the deep shit and the big stories and all that kind of stuff, the serious, oh God, we're going to change the world type video games. But they also have this just base desire to go meet up with their friends and just go slay a bunch of shit and get blood everywhere on the screen and just laugh and have a great time while they're doing it. Or just have these action flicks like we used to get, I guess more like 80s action flicks too, on video games, where it's just bombastic fun for the hell of it. That's it. It's just for the hell of it. right? And if you get some good characters, if you get a story in there, and you get those extra, that's all it is. That's just extra credit, right? That's just like, oh shit, they went out of their way. Wow. But let's get back to this. And as we talked about last night, Matt, we hear this groundswell from the journalistic side of things now. All of a sudden, everybody wants short games. $70 short games. Oh, okay. Listen, let's not encourage $70 short games, okay? First of all, if they want to make $50 short games, okay, cool. Let's not encourage $70 short games. But if you want to do that, Mav, then go back yet again to what you guys forgot to do from the 360 generation, which was you can do a short campaign. Space Marine 2 is like 10, 12 hours. Do a short campaign, but then give us some co-op. Give us a little PvP on the side. It don't matter if it ever blows up, right? It's just an addition that we go have fun with because we enjoyed your main game. But it's a complete package. Then you can go ahead and charge me $70 for that short campaign, right? Because you're giving me additional stuff to go do and have fun with. And if it does blow up, well, guess what? Then all of a sudden you probably got a moneymaker because now everybody understands how to monetize the hell out of it. So good for you. And we'll spend your money. We'll spend our money there. But let's get back to that instead of just asking for shorter games all of a sudden for $70 or just, again, there's room for everything. There's a place for everything. Devs got to make what they want to make. But my God, you telling me that all the devs out there just forgot and don't want to make these types of games anymore? Bullshit. Bullshit. There's plenty of devs who would love to make these types of games. But the publishers are like, oh, no, we're beyond that, guys. Nobody wants that. The modern audience doesn't just want to go kill shit, okay? We got to make it special. No, you don't.
Yeah. It's almost kind of like how the games media originally was all like, hey, we should, hey, $70 is fine. It's time. You know, it's time for it. Hey, you know, we've been lucky, you know, as consumers for so long. What do you got to say, Fuzz? You're on mute.
I was going to say it's of course it's from the crowd that gets the games for free. It's like, oh, can I get a review copy for my PlayStation?
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, charge those guys $70, but I want my free copy. So
yeah, none of them will even buy the damn thing for PlayStation to review it. Like for Black Myth Wukong. It's interesting though. For sure. Like I don't have any problem with shorter games whatsoever, but like I do think like, you know, you should pay for the kind of the what you get, and for people who are like, oh well, you know, that's subjective based on how you perceive value and stuff. Well, like you have a game like Hellblade 2 that, you know, so it took me like 11 hours maybe to beat that game, and it graphically insane and pushes the boundaries in so many different ways with gaming, but they would charge $50 for it. Right, like that's fair.
That seems fair,
right? That seems very fair. Then you have games like I think what was it? Alan Wake 2 was like 50 or 60 on PC. They Assassin's Creed Mirage, Ubisoft determined that even though their older Assassin's Creed games were about the same length as this Assassin's Creed game, they decided that they have surpassed with the massive. So this is less than those. So they charge $50 for Assassin's Creed Mirage, right? Yeah. There's definitely a room to figure out for the publishers like what to charge for, but I do think it's weird to champion like full price for the smaller experiences, and I don't really understand that, but it's a thing. I've seen it for sure.
Yeah, well, I think part of the thing is that those that champion it kind of forgot that a lot of these games aren't selling as well as they did in previous generations. Right. Like that extra $10 versus last gen, I won't say it's a make or break because I'm not going to watch people's pockets in that regard, but it seems like if you're going to spend $70, you better get a full-on experience that is not broken from start type of thing. Like my big thing is, ever since games have gone to $70, maybe it was COVID, maybe other factors, whatever, but it seemed like a lot of games released broken out the gate, whether it was performance, whether it was features, online didn't work, whatever the case may be, I expect if I'm paying $10 extra as far as a premium, I expect at least that $10 worth better out of the gate performance.
Yeah.
Like we got some broken games when they were 60, but it wasn't as frequent. It was more like, okay, you get a day 1 patch, it works, and then maybe a day 30 patch or something like that, it works even better. It seemed like the beginning of this gen was like, oh, $70? Oh, well, there will be a day 1 patch, and it even breaks things worse to some extent on some games. But then you get the subsequent patches, and maybe 6 months later it's better. But if you had just waited until the 6-month period, now the game is like more than half off. You could have got it for 30, 35 or whatever with tax. Mm-hmm. And it's a better performing game right out the gate, plus whatever extra content that they, gave for free to apologize for the rough state that it was in when it launched. So I'm not for champion the $70 short experience. I'm champion, offer shorter experiences, but charge a fair price. Don't expect me to pay $70 for something that I might sit down and finish in one sitting. Like that to me is not, I don't care how compelling the story is. I don't see that or at least in my perspective, working out in my favor as a fair price for what's being involved. Yeah. If it's a shorter experience, charge a shorter amount of money is about the best way to put it. I know some people like to put the $1 per hour or something to that effect. It varies on each one's experience. Like if it's a racing game and it has replay value, that's worth 60 and above for me. If it doesn't really have replay value, I don't even want to pay 40 for it, let alone 30 if it doesn't really have replay value. Unless there's something really cool or something unique about it, then yeah, I'll just probably wait until it's within that price point where it makes sense for me. But yeah, shorter experiences should have a different price point and what is considered a full-on experience. And to Pong's point, as far as when it comes to having multiplayer, having co-op, having a single-player campaign, if you're going to have all of those things, that seems like a more complete package than just a single-player story. Like, I get it. Not everything needs to be co-op. Not everything needs to be online. But if you're going to have a single-player game that's, just a single-player game and charge 70, I expect something on the lines of like an Assassin's Creed when they are the RPG style or any other big RPG where it's going to take me, 40, 50 plus hours to do the main campaign if I just want to run through it, or maybe 100 hours if I like sightseeing and backtracking and taking side paths and doing side missions and stuff. That for me would be worth my money at that point. But yeah, the gaming media just, I don't know. They just say some of the darndest things. It's like kids say the darndest things. They're like kids that don't realize what they say sometimes. So
yeah, it's interesting just because it's like almost this like separate like group of that don't necessarily really represent the gaming masses in any kind of way. Like even in our poll, like we have a lot of gaming enthusiasts here on Twitter, and in our chat and in our community and stuff. And I put our poll here in the chat, and I put out a poll on Twitter earlier about like, what's your favorite genre, right? And I put on their platformer, just as one of the options. Like on Twitter, platformer got 0% of the votes so far. Like it's shooter or RPG, and I put something else just because like there's racing games, fighting games, like there's tons of other RTSs or whatever. Right, the platformer has 0% of the vote. In our chat here, it had 3%. In the channel, so like that's that's a small sample size or whatever. It's not like telling unless there's like thousands and thousands of votes or whatever on that. But like still, you see this kind of like championing of certain kinds of genres or things that are like, hey, this is what everything's supposed to be about. Right, this is what we love the most, and it's almost like if something has a multiplayer or has like games of service components to it, or online or all these other modes, it's almost like, man, can they just like not do that anymore? I don't want them to put those things in our games. And it's like, I do. I like that stuff. And actually, the majority of players that play games actually are playing those kind of things, right? But instead, it's like, hey, this is horrible for everything. This is just not good. So it's like you have this like almost better than mentality of like people that think they know what's best for everybody else, trying to dictate and championing certain things. And they can be great experiences. They can be good, but to the detriment of everything else that also is good, that they feel like doesn't belong in that space, right? And this is like part of the conversation we had last night, and it's not to take anything away from a great game. Like PlayStation just had Astrobot launch, and it's seeming like it's an absolutely fantastic platformer, and something that is going to be regarded as one of the better platformers in a long time, right? And that's awesome, right? But like you also have other games in different genres that have been really good or amazing that they feel like just don't belong in the conversation or shouldn't be allowed to be in the conversation of being great just because it's not the idea of what they want to champion gaming, right? And so you have this thing that gets propped up and elevated above and beyond to like an extreme level, and then you have other things where it's like, well, same old, it's tired. Hey, can they stop ruining our games with this? I don't want multiplayer. I don't want this. We just need more shorter games. We just need more games like and all these kind of things. It's like, really? Like, I don't know. For me, I guess maybe this because I'm an Xbox guy, but I play, like I played Halo Infinite the other night. Right, I'll dive in randomly to some Forza Motorsport. I'll dive into an Age of Empires, or I'll dive into a flight simulator randomly. Right, I'll dive into Call of Duty randomly. I'll dive into Diablo randomly, or like, hey, I kind of got the itch to play Sea of Thieves again. Maybe I'll install that, or hey, how about I try and just play some free-to-play games? I'm into Fortnite, too. Me and my wife are, right? Or we're into this or that. And I'm into those kind of games. Like, I still play sports games, too. Like, I play Madden. I play NBA. Those get largely, like, shit on from the games community and games media as well, right? Like, kind of universally so. But, like, I still enjoy them, and I have fun with them. And that's really, like, these kind of things are what a lot of people play. Right? And continue to go back to. But they always get like slighted as in something that's wrong with the industry. Right? Something that's like the worst part of everything that's happening. And for me, I kind of look at it as like, okay, I have a game, I have access to this game, and every time I decide I want to go back to it, it has new awesome stuff to play, and I didn't have to pay anything for it. And it gives me years and years of value for either my purchase or the gaming subscription that I pay for, or whatever, however my access is to it. And I'm kind of like, what's my downside here with that game? I'm, as a player, getting the most value I could ever possibly imagine from something like that. And whereas on the other end, the games that was gaming supposed to be about, I could maybe have 15 hours of a great experience, be done with it, and never in my life even ever think to even care to touch it again. Hey, it's memorable, it's great. But really, like, what am I playing more, and what am I spending most of my time on, and what am I caring the most about? And I see the same thing actually from people that champion this kind of stuff, or that are saying that this is better than everything else or whatever, also playing a lot of those kind of games all the time. That's how they spend most of their time. It's just they just complain about it the whole time they're doing it. So it's kind of strange for the hobby that you love and you enjoy. You spend all your time doing something, and it's like, I hate this sucks, I love, but I'm doing it anyway, I'm doing it anyway because I'm addicted. This is amazing, oh my god, but I hate it, this is what's wrong. Oh, hey, look over there, I'll spend 10 hours doing that. This is what everything should be like. Let me go back to Call of Duty. All right, let me get back. It's just weird, man. Like this is, and going back to the original conversation, like about overall, a game like Warhammer is a game that has been decided upon by these people that make these decisions, and by games media, and by all these other people that say that doesn't have a chance to succeed anymore. Much like what that developer said, and the publishers even that thought so as well. But turns out, hey, they're fucking all wrong. They're all fucking wrong. Right?
You know what, Mav? We could test this theory a couple different ways. So first of all, hey, Strauss, you'll like this one, Strauss. Just because they want shorter, okay? Just take Grand Theft Auto 6. It'll probably roughly be what? I think Grand Theft Auto was like 32 hours on average to finish. Break it up into 4 parts, like a movie. Charge $70 per part and launch one per year. And see how the journalists respond. Because you'll give them 8-hour experiences for full price. Grand Theft Auto 6, one of the biggest games of all time. 4 parts, Strauss. $280 to finish that game. Let's go. Let's test this theory, Strauss. Number 2.
See,
Todd. Listen up, God. Listen up, God. You've been showing the light, man. This goes for all AAA big-time developers, by the way. You guys have been showing the light. Fuck making these big open world RPGs. Fuck making these amazing first-person shooters. Screw all that nonsense. Todd, Elder Scrolls. Just take the franchise and make a fucking AAA platformer with Elder Scrolls. And you'll get praise to high heaven. You guys will get 90s. You guys will be up for Game of the Year. I'm sure the Creation Engine can do platformers. Just do that. Because your tired formula, the journalists don't like. So let's go compete with Mario and now Astrobot, right? And we'll bring Elder Scrolls to platforming. Can you imagine what that would look like with dragons and shit? Todd, it's all been laid out for you, man. Easy win, brother. Easy win. And it'll cost you a fraction of what you spend in time and resources. Think about that, Todd. And you can run it at 30 frames all you want. But you know that sucker, you won't even have to patch it. You'll be able to get 120 out of that platformer easy on launch day. I'm just saying. We could test both of these theories, man. We could test all these theories. Let's go.
Absolutely.
I was not expecting you to go that way. I was thinking something. I was thinking something totally different. Like just create a journo mode, like journalist mode. Like I know they say that, make it the easy mode, but no. Make it where it's 1/3 the length of the game, and it's like a start, a middle, and an end. And the journalist can do the review in like 10 hours for the 30-hour game. The rest of the people can do the full amount, but you want the journey mode? Yay. That's just 13 hours. You're over and done with. It cuts out a lot of the cut scenes. It cuts out a lot of the explaining and mechanics. They can figure it out. I mean, it's easy mode essentially, but it's a shortened easy mode. And hey, they can, rave about your game because, I was able to beat it in a weekend. This is what I've always wanted. I wanted to get all of my trophies in, a day.
It's funny, though, Hellblade 2 was, like, trying to be largely criticized from games media for its length.
Mm-hmm.
And even
they should have added more cutscenes.
And it being $50, right? I mean, that was the big conversation when Hellblade 2 came out. Is like, man, this is like too short. Like it's barely even a game. that's what people say.
That undercuts its potential. Like, wait, what? Why are we worried about the price of the game? It's like, well, once again, it's the people that were complaining were the ones that were getting the free codes anyway. So it's like, I don't know. It's bizarro world when it comes to gaming journalists and gaming. It feels like they should probably review food or movies. Yeah, they'll probably be good at reviewing movies.
No, they're not. I've seen a lot of the that's because they try and do it at some of the games publications as well. And they're not very good at reviewing movies. But overall, like movies, I just rely on like user scores usually because there's not like a bunch of fanboy hate back and forth usually in the movie space. So if you go to like IMDb or something and just see like what the score is, like, hey, like that's going to be a bar for kind of the quality of the movie. But then there's like shitty movies, and I have like fives that are actually pretty good. You know, we watched one last night. Liam Neeson, The Marksman. It was about trying to help a boy escape because the cartel was after him and stuff, and it was like, it had like a 5.7 on IMDb, but like in that range, it's like there's good fives and there's bad ones, But if you have a movie that's above a 7 or an 8, usually it's like insanely good. But yeah, for like game reviews, fuck, if it's a 5 something, like from critics, it's usually trash. Like overall for meta, like it's usually kind of a metric that's really bad. That's why like when a games critic would give like a Call of Duty a 4, it's like just asinine. It doesn't make any damn sense. Like in the realm of reality, Starfield a 4. It's just like there's certain things that just like are so far beyond with like ridiculousness. But yeah, like Astrobot maybe reviewed how it should be, right? Maybe other games should also get the fair chance, even if they're not in the genre that you prefer, right? And that's
We kind
kind
of
of
saw some of that with Hi-Fi Rush. Like, remember, there were a handful of people that gave it a bad review. Oh, I wasn't feeling the music. And then that same reviewer, when it came to PlayStation, yeah, everything clicks. Really? Why didn't it click when it was only on Xbox? But yeah, that was a platformer that I know some people on social media were talking about. Oh yeah, Xbox needs to respond. No, they don't. They already responded with Hi-Fi Rush, and there were people that tried to badmouth it. It was critically acclaimed, and it's still on the Game Pass service. So you have a platformer there. There was Super Lucky Tale, which a lot of people used to clown when that was one of the Xbox One titles,
Yeah.
but I don't know. For me, I enjoyed my time with Psychonauts 2. Super Lucky's Tale, it seemed a little too kiddie for me.
Yeah.
Psychonauts was at least a little bit more of a heartfelt story kind of thing. I'm not the biggest platformer guy. Platformers for me, if I'm really in the mood, I'll hook up my mini Super Nintendo or whatever and play Super Mario World 3 and go to town with that. Everything else, it's like, eh. And like I said, I'm not the biggest Nintendo fan at all. So
Yeah. Like general like platformers. If it's a good quality platformer, it's gonna review pretty high. Like I remember the Rayman games, from like 360 and generation and stuff. They were like always like in the 9s and shit like every time. And those were good. They were good games, but I wasn't like, wow, this feels like the next coming of greatness when I was playing them and stuff like that either. It's just there's kind of like it just seems like in certain circles like a kind of an ultra love affair for that kind of game, and it's led to the conversation that Xbox needs more of these. Xbox needs their platformer, they need their thing, to kind of sell the brands, embrace Xbox's lineage and all these kind of things, which is fair. Like you could want whatever, but I think need can also be a strong word, right? What do they actually need? Do they need their version of Astrobot, or do people just want Xbox to make their version of Astrobot, right? Or bring Banjo back, or bring this other franchise back, or whatever, right? We had this conversation last night, and they have that franchise. The Psychonauts 2 came out this generation, right? Early on, and it was a critical success, and it was a great game, and many people love it. And it's a platformer. They also have other franchises in the pipeline. Supposedly, Toys for Bob is making something for them right now, as well. So I don't know about like what they need or what they don't need, but I do know like as far as family friendly content and stuff, if that's where people are going with it, they have a abundance and way more than PlayStation first party does. Like in that regard, Grounded, Sea of Thieves, Minecraft. Yeah, that is the most popular one out there, right? So overall, I think they're fine in that space, but they have other mascots, they have other big franchises, and they have another game that just came out in a genre that's not ultra popular to the media or to the masses or to the casuals, that came out and is doing really well, being played by a lot of people, and it reviewed well from the people that did review it, and that's Age of Mythology Retold. A fantastic game, but it's getting no conversation whatsoever. Except we talk about it here on our shows. But in the grand scheme of things, is it more or less popular than a platformer? I maybe not from games media, but maybe from players. It is. Like if you see the numbers on Steam from just the Age franchise in general, it's always doing huge numbers there. So like the representation of like what gamers are actually playing versus what seems like the popular cool thing to talk about is kind of different, you know. Have you dive into Age of Mythology at all yet, Fuzzy?
No, it's one that I will eventually get around to, but like you said, it definitely has a big following in the PC space, and the fact that these, RTSs and other strategy games are coming to console again, I think that's a big plus. It would be nice if PlayStation had its own. I mean, their closest thing prior was the original Helldivers, but nobody says, "Hey, where's Sony's version of that RTS?" or something to that effect. I mean, I know some people are questioning where's their multiplayer games or their first person shooter that, not that it needs to kill Halo, but at least be on par with Halo. And some will say Killzone, but it never really reached that level. When it comes to Arcade Racer, the closest they ever had was Drive Club, and they killed that off rather quickly. Much while Horizon has been, getting bigger and bigger numbers every iteration that it releases. So, as far as Xbox with platformers, I don't think they need to. They have some already. It would be nice if they bring back some of their IP, as far as like Banjo-Kazooie or even another Crash game. But that being said, I would much rather them bring back other IP that they're kind of sitting on as well. But if the roles were reversed, I don't know why nobody's asking for an RTS over at PlayStation or, a co-op, multiplayer type game on PlayStation. So it just feels like the gaming media has their nostalgia and their preference. And if it's Xbox, it's, well, they should follow Sony. And when when Xbox does something great, they're like, oh, we forgot about it. And this is why you should not play this game. And this is why we gave it a bad score. We're reminding you, we gave it a bad score, by the way. Oh, by the way, the Series S is a potato. It's like, I don't know. It just feels like the gaming media forgot that they're supposed to be about enjoying games as opposed to feeding into the same fanboy narratives that they complain about, but yet they're the ones, propping them up. So I don't know.
Yeah, I see the chat saying, well, Age isn't popular on consoles. Well, there's also, that's not necessarily true, but also, that PC players wouldn't play platformers. I think that's also not necessarily true either. However, regardless, there seems to be just kind of this overall ignoring a game like Age of Mythology Retold from a lot in conversation. You know what I mean? And I think it's just because it's not part of the whole console war mentality kind of thing, right? It's like RTSs in the past have been, even though they are played by many console gamers, it's traditionally thought of as a PC type game, right? But like you see things like that, like nobody's asking, hey, why can't PlayStation make the experiences like that and bring them out on their platform? Or like, why can't PlayStation make shooters or like, why can't PlayStation make this or that? I mean, and this on the heels of the same week, right? PlayStation attempted this. This is where it gets interesting. This is kind of what I wanted to dive into, because like everybody's saying Xbox needs a platformer like Astrobot because there's reviewed really well, right? People want Xbox to have a 94 platformer Metacritic game all of a sudden, right? This is the same week that PlayStation killed their own game in 2 weeks after it came out because it was such a failure in a genre that they cannot crack into themselves. That they tried. They spent 8 years making a multiplayer shooter that was their own original IP, that they were going to come out and it was going to be the next big thing for multiplayer shooter for them and all this other kind of stuff. To be the game that people said they needed to have the version of for Xbox, right? They come out, they fail miserably. They fall on their face. Nobody even gives a shit about the game. And the most colossal failure I've seen from a first-party platform, maybe ever, in a game launch. To the fact that you actually shut it down 2 weeks after launch. Today, it is shut down. The game came out 2 weeks ago. We all know how big of a disaster Babylon's Fall was when they shut down for a year after it came out. People talk about how much a disaster games like Bleeding Edge were. Guess what? You can still fucking play that game today. 2 weeks later, they shut it down. And what is people's reaction? Stop trying. You don't need to make those kind of games. Just make these other kind of games, right? You're good. You're good just doing that. You're good. Hey, just make single player action games, platformers now, because that's your thing now. You make platformers. And so make single player action adventure, third person narrative based games and make platformers. Hey, we're good. Beforehand, when Xbox had more kid friendly family games, PlayStation was like, hey, those don't count. Right? Doesn't make sense. You can't count those for this kind of console. Like, this is not Nintendo. Like, blah blah blah. Now it matters, right? But besides that, they have given up, saying it doesn't matter to have those. So looking at the IP, this is something that Hiroki Totoki had said, that they don't have enough IP. We look at the ongoing games that Xbox has, and also the other games that they have coming out, and all these other kind of things. And I kind of look back and be like, well, like, what does Xbox need? They have something in everything. They have the platformer games, they have the shooters, they have the RTS games, they have the third-person action adventure games, they have RTS games, they have everything pretty much under the sun. But for some reason, it's been just accepted that PlayStation is just what they are. And that's fine. Right? But anyway, it's not for me. And I don't know, like, we saw this conversation from Hiroki saying that they need more IP. I don't know where that comes from. Right? Is that because of the failure of Concord? What do you, Pong? Do you remember what he said, or exactly why he said that?
Yeah, I mean, I've got the article if you want me to dive into it real quick. It's here's his quotes. Sony leadership this I'll give credit where credit's due. First of all, this is from what the heck is, oh god, screwed it up. This is from PlayStation Lifestyle. Sony leadership reckons the company doesn't have enough original IP, including in its PlayStation division. The group is making a multi-billion-dollar investment into creating original content in a bid to widen its share for the entertainment industry, and in an interview with Financial Times, expressed its desire to foster new IP from the beginning. Quote, whether it's for games, films, or anime, we don't have that much IP that we fostered from the beginning, Sony CFO Hiroki Totoki told Financial Times. We're lacking the early phase of IP, and that's an issue for us. Totoki added, Sony as a whole has been better at finding new audiences for existing popular IPs, and thinks that the company won't grow without creating content from scratch for higher returns. While new IP is certainly welcome, these comments are a little puzzling when it comes to PlayStation, because the company has numerous game franchises that it fostered from the beginning, or could have, but they have since been abandoned. Look no further than the featured above image for some hints. Heck, one of PlayStation's biggest new hits from the PS4 era, Bloodborne, has been pretty much left to die. At least that's what it looks like right now. Meanwhile, games like Until Dawn get another lease on life in the form of remake, and we're not quite sure who asked for that. And again, this is PlayStation Lifestyle Magazine, so this is not like, this isn't like even from a neutral site at all. Like, this is PlayStation. This is one of the PlayStation fan sites. But yeah, so it's just flat out, he for some reason believes that they don't have enough original IP. And again, of course, he's talking across, like he said, films and anime as well. But he did say games. And that's just like, are you kidding me? Somebody put together the list of abandoned IP that they have right now, Mav. And again, these are including sequels. So it looks, it's incredible when you kind of put them all out here. But we're talking about Wild Arms, a fantastic JRPG that had 5 games that has disappeared. Siphon Filter, we all know. Siphon Filter disappeared. Killzone, of course. We know the story of Killzone, right? What else got? Jackson Daxter hasn't had anything done with it. There's this huge group of fans been clamoring for Gravity Rush to come back. Dead. Not coming back. They've got what else they got? White Knight Chronicles, another RPG. Twisted Metal sitting there, right? Twisted Metal just sitting.
Resistance.
Warhawk, right? Warhawk out there. Medieval 2, a cool little platform, or not platform, but action kind of game. Resistance, Fall of Man, of course. Sly Cooper has been completely abandoned. One of their best kiddie, quote unquote, IP. I love Sly Cooper. It's one of my favorite IPs. Right? Dark Cloud, another fantastic JRPG, right? Getaway, a great action game, a car game that they could bring back nowadays that a lot of people probably would really like. They had Cool Borders. They had a snowboarding game, right?
Motorstorm.
Ape Escape, yes. Motorstorm. Days Gone, we know that story, right? They had an ATV game. They got Jet Moto, right? Which was dope-ass racing jet ski type game back in the day, right? So the reality is, I don't understand that statement. It feels like to me that they've got all this unrealized IP that they abandoned a long time ago for various reasons, which happens. Again, Microsoft has a freaking basement full of IP that needs to be worked on, but they're not, right? So again, this isn't just a PlayStation thing. But
to Xbox's credit, they have. Even though it's taken forever, they're bringing back Fable. They're bringing back Perfect Dark. They did do a Battletoads recently. So there's a lot of things they have been working on to bring back, but there's still a lot more. Sure.
Of course, and like I was just making the point. All the publishers, EA's got a closet fucking full too. I mean, again, this happens, right? But it was weird for Hiroki to say this again, including the PlayStation side of things, because isn't that all their communities talked about, that they've organically grown studios and IP forever, just like Nintendo? Like, this has been the Sony way, right? The PlayStation way. So for him to say that is like, what are you talking about, Hiroki? You got SOCOM sitting there when you need a freaking shooter and you want a games as a service, and you got SOCOM sitting there and you're not doing anything with it. Like, that stuff just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, understanding his point of view as far as the business goes, of course, generating, this is Phil's whole point of why not to license IP, right? And obviously Hiroki is probably looking at the Marvel deal and how much they give to Marvel just to have Wolverine, just to have Spider-Man. It's ridiculous. Now that we got the Insomniac leaks, business-wise, it makes sense. That's why Phil said he doesn't like license deals either. He likes controlling the IP, making games based upon IP control. So him and Hiroki are in alignment here, and it makes, again, a lot of sense when you look at it from that standpoint. But they've done that. They're just sitting on this, a wealth of IP. So that part doesn't make any sense. But, you know, to the wider conversation that you were kind of getting to here, Mav, as far as all this goes, it is always, there's only one reason really why the questions are always asked, does Xbox need X type game when there's success on another platform, right? Especially when it's PlayStation. Mm-hmm. And that's the only reason why is because PlayStation is considered the market leader, right? Now, again, Nintendo is obviously the kings of their own world, so whatever, they do their thing. But PlayStation is considered the market leader. They're the most popular brand out there between the consoles. So as the leader, everybody just thinks that everything they are doing is right. And again, we've talked about this. This is the point of view that journalists constantly take when you're the most popular. They ignore your flaws. So this conversation, it's always going to be one-sided while PlayStation sits on that throne because that's the way it's been. And so they always go, and it comes even from the Xbox side when PlayStation has a win. Again, it wasn't Sony people asking these questions. It was people like Jez and stuff asking, does Xbox need its own type of, astrobot type IP because they have all this nostalgia that they could use to build a platformer like that? Like, wouldn't that be great? So to me, it is fair to look and go, okay, well, but why? Because the reason why PlayStation, the reason why Jim implemented this games as a service, deal, right? Where initiative, I should say, in which he wanted to create whatever it was, 10 to 12 games in 4 years or whatever the crazy shit he was going for. The only reason why he did that is because they have been lacking for so long in so many different places, and Microsoft is now acquiring, Xbox is acquiring so many good studios that produce so many of the genres that PlayStation no longer produces, right? The question really should be asked, Mav. I understand why people are asking about games as a service, because that genre or that type of game lends itself to people spending a lot of time in your ecosystem, right? Which is now a big deal to these companies. And that's something that Sony lacks. Their single player games are freaking awesome. But again, even Astrobot, sure, it may win Game of the Year. We all think it's going to win Game of the Year. We all think it's a lock at this point. Astrobot's going to be Game of the Year. It's still a 10 to 12 hour experience. That's 1 week for most of your hardcore players, like your enthusiasts, right? That's 1 week and it's gone again. And sure, it'll be brought up again during the awards. Sure, the journals will continue to write glowing things about, Astrobot. There'll be speed runs and all this kind of stuff.
A marketing, thing for them.
But honestly, it doesn't keep people in your ecosystem. It doesn't keep people locked in playing your ecosystem, and that's what they are really looking for, Matt. So the bigger question to me is, and that's obviously what Jim was going for, games of service on top of monetization. But another big one is, I don't understand why nobody asks, where are Sony's RPGs? Like, where are Sony's big RPGs, right? Western or JRPGs. Sure, they've been embedded with Square Enix, so you can kind of look at it and go, well, they get a lot of JRPGs from the East just naturally, that they're exclusive. Fine. But where are their Western RPGs? Where are their big games, right? Where is their Bethesda type game? Where not even Bethesda. Let's take it a step back. Where's their Obsidian? Where's their Obsidian who can make them a Grounded, right? Where's their Obsidian who can make them something like the Outer Worlds, right? Where is that gets that engagement, that keeps people coming back for more for weeks at a time, if not months at a time?
To your point, like Fallout is a single player game, but we saw the resurgence that even Fallout 4 had. And it was one of the highest played games on PlayStation.
Right.
Again.
And that's what that goes back, Matt, to what we were talking about last night. There is so much non-credit given to Xbox for what they do well. Again, it's easy to nitpick, and again, we give them all the flack and the criticism for the stuff that they've missed, for the trip-ups that they've had. Obviously, again, it's easy to do that. It's easy to see. It's easy to do that. We do that with Sony, right? I could sit here and all talk about Nintendo all damn night, what they screwed up, even though they, by all measurements, are wildly successful. I can still tell you where they screwed up in my eyes, right? Whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. It's just opinion. But I'm just saying it's easy to do that. But Xbox doesn't get any credit for all the games that they fostered, for all the genres that they now have underneath their umbrella and
that's
have had
why I've
fostered.
been bringing up like Age of Mythology Retold now.
Correct.
Because like it's a lot of players playing it. It's reviewed well. It's coming out day and date on the Xbox and PC, and it's being championed by the fans of the genre, right? As like, hey, this is the way to do it. This is amazing. And it just like isn't getting any conversation whatsoever, right?
It's poo-pooed. It's oh, that's cute. That's cute. Yeah, we don't care about
like
that.
if both are kind of like, I would say platformers are popular, but like what's more popular? Maybe about the same RTSs and platformers, or like
it's going to really depend on the IP. Obviously, Mario as a platformer is
right. And Mario's huge,
wildly popular. Okay, so I mean, yes, but it depends on the IP.
Yeah, so like I just see RTS games getting played a shit ton,
right,
all the time.
If you take something like Psychonauts 2, which we brought up last night, Psychonauts 2 was again loved, right, wildly loved by a lot of critics. People had that in their Game of the Year conversations, journalistic. It was everywhere, Mav. Right. It was everywhere. But do we think that more people aren't or haven't played Age? Right, over Psychonauts 2?
Right.
I would think that more people probably
I'm
played
curious,
Age
I'm curious, like,
Psychonauts 2.
In the grand scheme of things, like, who will a game like Age of Empires 4 have more players than Astrobot?
And this has always been my thing.
You know, I don't know.
When we're talking about, we're not talking about individual likes. When we're talking about media response or just general response in the industry, right? We're not talking about our individual. That's not what it's about, right? It's about, this comes back to the conversation that we always have too, which is what is it all about? Why are we all here for the first place? It's games, right? Yes, we all have our individual likes and we all have our certain biases that, you know, we lean towards or whatever the case may be. But we're all gamers at heart. So why should even a genre like that be poo-pooed that's been around for a long ass time, that has been wildly successful on PC and actually drove a lot of PC market back in the day? Why would you all of a sudden poo-poo those games coming out and doing very well? Shouldn't it still be considered a part of the gaming industry and still be like, hey, this is freaking awesome that this is happening, right? This is freaking amazing. Nice job, right? But that doesn't happen. It's so favoritism nowadays where only people pick out exactly what they're interested in to talk about when it comes. And again, I'm talking about journalists. I'm not just talking about the everyday Joe. I'm talking about the journalists themselves that are supposed to represent and talk to large swaths of the community. But they only talk about the certain little things that they're interested in. And again, it's platformers and it's third person narrative, over-the-shoulder driven type games that Sony made wildly popular and told everybody was the premium experience. Everything else is like, yeah, that's okay. Unless it's something bad to talk about, right? Every once in a while, an RPG will blow up, obviously. Bethesda's have been blowing up, but then, of course, Starfield comes out and they poo-poo that now, right? See, Cyberpunk was absolutely demolished for some very good reasons, but over the top for other reasons, and now it's beloved again. So you have those moments, but for the most part, like you're talking about, Mav, it's never discussed. And again, the articles aren't being written. Where is Sony's RPGs, right? What are they doing to get this engagement that is so important to their company? Yes, they need games as a service. That's one of the aspects, but they're failing miserably. But where's their Western RPG studio? When are they going to give us a big RPG to go play like Xbox is, right? They're not going to do that, right? The same way they're never going to ask, why doesn't Sony have an RTS, right? Well, where's their strategy game? It's weird to me because as a gaming community, those are still big parts of what it means in this community. But we've come so heavily focused. When I say we, again, I'm talking about the people whose professional job it is to talk about this stuff, have become so focused on AAA shit all the damn time that they ignore all the other pieces that make up why this industry is the world's largest entertainment industry. It's not because of one type of game or two types of games. It's because of all the gaming as a whole. And in fact, it includes that freaking mobile side that nobody talks about, even us, right? That mobile side is bigger than everything. So I think that's the bigger self-reflection that they should probably get to for all of these things that we're kind of talking about right now, why they happen and why they don't happen. It's weird, man. It's a very strange time to be in when you've got an entertainment industry like this. Again, movies and that kind of stuff. You see a lot of movies getting talked about. Like you can see a lot of, and again, it's not even as much as it used to be because Hollywood's kind of died off a little bit. But Netflix shows, you see Netflix shows getting talked about all the damn time, right? Some of them are small, some of them are big, some of them are in between. But you just don't get that same kind of questions, and you don't get the same type of coverage here in the industry that we're talking about. Oh.
It's just an interesting overall conversation. It's kind of like the favoritism towards like not just a platform, but like genres, right? And like this whole idea of things, and like, hey, I think successes on the genres, like for the best games in every genre, should be celebrated as such. Right, like if Astrobot is the best platformer to launch for a long time, hey, it should be celebrated as such. But I think it goes for the same as like a game like Space Marine 2. That goes for the same as like a game like Age of Mythology Retold. It goes for the same as a game like Call of Duty Black Ops 6, which may be, the best version of Call of Duty or the best shooter that we've played in a long time. You know what I mean? But like just certain kinds of games are always going to be kind of just like, hey, it's expected. Or, it's nothing to really celebrate, right? But hey, we got to make sure everybody knows this is what everything's supposed to be about. And I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, that's interesting. It just doesn't do it for me, right? So anyway, it's like, eventually I'll probably get to playing that game at some point. Overall, though, like, man, I've been relishing in just these game releases. Because this month has been absolutely fucking nuts. But hey, let me get to the super chat real quick because Alvin's been waiting for a while, and I apologize for the long wait to read your super chat, Alvin. We have a $5 super chat from Alvin. It says, Pong, that's not just a bot; it's an ultramarine bot who will not fail the Emperor.
Bro, he doesn't fail. That's the greatest thing ever. He just does not. The best one today was I did an execution, Steel did an execution, and the bot followed up with his own execution. It was all in a row, 1, 2, 3 on 3 of the big enemies. It was freaking amazing. I was like, Steel, the bot's pulling off an execution. He's like, shut up. I didn't know they did that. Yeah. Sure enough, he pulled it off. Freaking amazing, bro. But you're right, Alvin. He's an ultramarine bot.
There's an interesting conversation going on about RPGs in the chat right now because when we were talking about like
we're not doing please don't say it's Spider-Man. Please don't say
it's Horizon. They're talking about Horizon. Yeah, because PlayStation labels it as an RPG, as our action.
No,
RPG.
they was it action RPG or something?
Yeah, action RPG.
Like it's not a true RPG.
So
just stop with the nonsense.
It's an interesting thing, I think, because like. It's been a thing since like forever that games start putting RPG elements in them, like action games. And this is like some of the first big open world action games and all this stuff kind of started doing this. Hell, like Far Cry fucking has RPG elements in it. You know what I mean? Like you upgrade, you have skill trees, and you have if you have a fucking skill tree and you have a like upgrade path or something. It doesn't mean it's an RPG. Like there's
it has elements.
There's RPG elements, and that was something that was always talked about and used in the past. But now they've kind of widened that and blurred the lines to like sell something in like as different genres. I think maybe to kind of like so there's some games out there that are clearly like just action games that like have put those elements in it and now have blurred the lines of the genre because they themselves don't know what to label their games as. And this also goes for like the whole remasters and remakes and stuff. Like a lot of the publishers or developers themselves don't even seem like they know what to call their games, right? If it's a remaster or remake, or if it's this or that, and like there adds to confusion, I think, a lot out there. But yeah, if I will die on the hill that Horizon, and Spider-Man, and
I mean, you could sit here and have a whole show, but the best response to all of that, and you guys can go watch it, is "Oh no, it's Alex." He did a great video on that. I love when Alex does this, but it was when what's his face, Refudge, decided to label Spider-Man as an RPG. And during one of his shows, and "Oh no, it's Alex" did a whole entire show explaining what RPGs are and what they are not, and why certain games and having the elements does not make your game an RPG, and it's freaking amazing. He had a great conversation about it. So you guys can go watch that. So
I mean, Call of Duty could be an RPG.
Right. That's that's the problem. Again,
exactly.
There's so much blending, and again, I understand the fact that we've blended a lot of genres, and that games do steal from genres that they're not necessarily there, but we have to maintain definition. There has to be clear definitions, and the classic RPG definition is well understood, and that's why the RPG got originally broken up between JRPG and then Western RPG, but also action RPG, like your Diablos, right? That all got split up, and that's about as far as you can break up RPG. But all of those maintain the original RPG elements, more than the elements, but the actual intent of what an RPG game was versus a Spider-Man or a Horizon. It's not. They're not. Yeah. But anyways, I
always thought the qualifier is, can the main character play anything other than that character?
Right. Are you playing a role? It's a role-playing game. Are you playing a role as the character?
They try to say, well, you're playing as Spider-Man, but can Spider-Man play as the mailman? Or can Spider-Man play as the criminal? Can Spider-Man play as the delivery guy? No, then it's not an RPG. Stop with the stupidness. That's plain and simple.
But then you get into the whole JRPG thing where you're usually a character, right? So it's like...
but you have classes in JRPGs.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's right. So you have a role, right? You have a role. That's where that came from. It's hilarious.
That's why those things, like, that's why we look at a game like what is it, the Obscura or whatever coming out, and that's like made by a French developer, but it's in the style of a JRPG.
It's so
it is so definable, right? But then that's also why a lot of us had problems with what Final Fantasy 16 was, because like it's moving away more from what our RPG is into more. They reduced
a lot of the elements that make up classic RPGs, right? You could still argue that it's an RPG, sure, but again, they removed with the equipment. With what I saw people explaining the equipment and how it works, and it's the lightest of light versions of RPG ever. It's crazy. It's like barely
the
there.
Story goes there kind of where it still has that feel, but like it's like ultimately it's an action game at its heart with light RPG elements, and it's like
they've moved into Devil May Cry
territory. Great game. I think, but like it's like not what Final Fantasy like core mainline franchise should be, in my opinion. I think it should be kind of like a spinoff, which they've done before. They've done like Strangers in Paradise, or is that what it's called? I forget the action.
I still want to go back and
kind
of play that.
Demo.
It was decent. It was actually kind of cool.
Now that's like we're just, hey, this is action game. Yeah. But like Final Fantasy is like kind of in between. It's a little strange. I would say the Final Fantasy remakes are more core to RPG experience for sure. Anyway, let's get into this like deluge of games. And I said like September on the thumbnail, but really, if we go back to like late August, kind of going into like October, well, shit, and the rest of this year, to be honest. But like this couple weeks, it's just nuts, man. I have a list of these games. This is Polygon. Let's see. And starting with August, I'm trying to find August 20th. Okay. You have Black Myth Wukong. You had the release of Concord. Had cancel that one out now. That one doesn't count anymore. You have Gundam Breaker 4 is actually pretty popular for many out there. Visions of Mana, Star Wars Outlaws, which I think is a very good game so far. I have not played hours and hours and hours of it.
Wish I could be playing it.
Yeah, when you get that shit fixed. Then we go into the Harry Potter Quidditch Champions game that came out that I know some people are interested in. A casting of Frank Stone just hit. You have Age of Mythology Retold, which I will keep singing the praises of time and time again. You have Astrobot, which is people are calling the game of the generation potentially. NBA 2K25. I just got that. You have Space Marine 2. So literally on the same day, you had Astrobot, NBA 2K25, and Space Marine 2. Just there, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, and people
a month already.
And if you want to try and just like overwrite NBA, like, oh, this is NBA. A lot of fucking people buy NBA every year, So like that's a big release, especially to be on the same day as Astrobot, and also what is turning out to be a crazy popular game in Space Marine 2. So 3 fucking games all on the same day, September 6th, man. And this is, like I said, only 2 days after Age of Mythology Retold officially launched. So within 2 days, you have 4 big games, really.
Did you forget Concord in that list?
I said it, but then I said we need to cancel it out because it doesn't exist as of today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I said it, but
it's already. I'm already getting a memory hold for me. Like I just keep forgetting it even existed. So it's already happening.
I think
the magic is working.
Just put it where ET is in your memory.
Yeah.
I think PlayStation wants people to forget that it existed. I mean, I think that
we talked about it last night. Yes, they do.
100%.
Yes, they do.
Which it's a massive failure that they get a completely free pass on.
Yep.
It's all right. Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, September 12th. I saw was it Brett Bingham earlier in the chat, or somebody was talking about Test Drive in the chat, saying they've been playing it a little bit. I don't know if it's like the early release version or whatever, but they said like I think gave it like a 7-ish or so. That's what he said. So far.
Generous. Very generous.
Yeah, it's one that
from what I played in the beta.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. It's a game that I had my eye on originally and was kind of anticipating or hoping it would be good. And, we'll see. For me right now, it's definitely going to be a wait, especially with everything else. But it is like still kind of a big-ish size game. At least I don't know how well it's going to do. But this is another game, Wild Bastards. It looks pretty cool. I don't know if y'all have seen this game, but it's like an indie kind of shooter thing. It seems pretty interesting. Okay. Then you have God of War Ragnarok coming out for PC this month.
Yeah. Which nobody's talking about. It's hilarious.
Ragnarok coming out on PC this month, everybody. You also have the Plucky Squire, which there's a lot of people looking forward to that game on the 17th. And how about this one, guys? Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster is this month. And this shit looked pretty fucking good when they showed that the remaster for Dead Rising. So it's like, I really want the Dead Rising franchise to come back. I want to play this game to hope
they censored it.
How did they censor it? What happened?
They took out certain aspects of it.
Okay. Was there like dildos you can hit people with
I
or
own the
something?
original.
Like-
I now own the original on PC, so I will be enjoying it there.
Okay, right on.
I'm not going to buy it because I don't agree with self censoring either. So
Yeah.
if you're going to bring back a game, bring back a game. Like Lollipop Chainsaw is coming out, and they have the updated version, right? The modern audience version, but they also included the original, and it's been confirmed that they didn't touch anything outside of making cameras better and controls better and all that kind of stuff. So you can go back and play it the way
Right.
that it originally played on the 360, or you can play the new version where they take out some of the gore and all that kind of stuff, or whatever else the case may be. So if you're gonna do it, you got to keep your game's original vision. I don't care what was wrong with it back in the day. Again, I hate that shit, but that's just me. That's a personal thing.
Yeah.
So
It's
whatever.
almost like they
I
should
hope
just
Dead
put
Rising
it as a
goes.
mode, like a Switch. Like,
Yes.
you want the edited version?
Yes,
Here.
that's what I'm saying.
But
Yes,
the
exactly.
unedited version, just
Yeah.
at least make it where it's like, are you 18?
Or
Do you have a
just-
sense of humor?
Yeah.
Okay, you can see the unedited version.
Did you play the original and enjoy the original so you don't have a problem? Great. Okay, you can play this version. Like, that's what it should be. Anyways.
Frostpunk 2 comes out for PC.
God damn, you're right, bro.
That's
It
in
does.
Game Pass as well, isn't it?
Yes, PC, Game Pass, and console.
So this is pretty crazy because for us, within these 4 days,
Yes.
and also if you really add Age of Mythology like in there, 3 in the same month, you have 4 days after Frostpunk 2, you have Aura History Untold hitting for PC.
Yeah.
So on September 24th, you have Aura, which is looking to be pretty fucking spectacular in the strategy game genre as well, which will also probably release and get praised by people in that kind of community and for that genre, and then completely overlooked from games media, whatever, because games media people and journalists or whatever just don't give a shit about the genre, right? Again, point about genres or whatever, I understand, you know, not traditionally console type things. This one obviously is a PC release. Xbox franchise releasing in PC Game Pass day and date is one that I'm looking forward to giving a go, and I know a lot of us here are going to be playing it as well. But then the Frostpunk 2 again, also it could be amazing. This is a game actually that I just because I saw 3-Bit in the chat right now, I wasn't going to mention this game, but because I saw you 3-Bit in the chat, I'm going to mention this game because when I saw the trailer for this game, I immediately thought of you.
3-Bit will be the only one.
So I hope you're still here in the chat. I know you said you're leaving for Paris tomorrow, actually. I thought you were already there. My bad. But the Karate Kid Street Rumble. 3-Bit. So go. This is
Stop
a 3-Bit
it.
game. It screams Scott Pilgrim. You know, Streets of Rage. It's a Rumble like type game. You know.
Yep.
Karate Kid Street Rumble. Go watch the trailer, 3-Bit. I'm telling you, man, this might be up your alley. Anyway, also Disney's Epic Mickey Rebrush. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that this month. Greedfall 2 launches in early access this month as well. You got your Lollipop Chainsaw that you mentioned, Pong. Then here's another big game. This is for the Switch though. Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom launches in September. And this is a fucking huge September for games. It's almost like feels like in November to me. Like, it used to be like November would be like the big release season. With the amount of games that we're getting that are like, I'm not gonna say they're all the biggest high profile releases, but fuck, man. With what we've already got just in this like early part, what we still have to come, I don't know how we're gonna play all these games. Is there any of these games that stand out to you, Fuzzy, besides the ones that already just launched?
I mean, I probably should rebuy Lollipop because I don't have the original anymore. Dead Rising's up there, but I'll probably wait for sale just because that was the franchise when I was on PlayStation that I really wanted it to come over. They came over for Dead Rising 2, but the original was the one that I really wanted, and I wasn't buying a 360 for one game at that time. So Dead Rising's on the radar. I'm still waiting beyond God of Ragnarok or God of War Ragnarok for PC. I'm waiting for their next one, which I remember hearing a rumor before. It was supposed to be Gran Turismo. So fingers crossed, Gran Turismo is the next PC port. But outside of that, I mean, it's Test Drive is the one that I knew they would probably have a stumble or two at launch, and I wanted to wait. I'm hoping that the modding community, at least from a PC standpoint, adopts that as its replacement for Assetto Corsa. Just because nothing's wrong with Assetto Corsa or anything like that, but it's like it would be nice if they put that same care and affection into another platform that's more modern, with more modern car models and things like that. So it'd be nice if they give that a go. But I'm looking forward to that around the holidays. Pick that up on a sale. Astrobot could care less. But those are the big ones that stand out for me for right now. But there's a lot of other ones that I won't mind giving a try that, come to Game Pass, like Frostpunk 2, with Age of Mythology. I'm definitely going to give those a try, even if it's just to get some achievement points or something like that, to at least give them a try. But yeah, September is a pretty stacked month, and it makes you wonder, when did Avowed get bumped out of? Was it September or was it October?
It was September?
November.
Oh, wait, November. Wait,
it was November. Okay.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Was the original thought that it was going to be in September?
No, the original thought was November. And then we had that leak, that blip. It was November 15th.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ara is been the one for September. Okay. All right. So yeah, it's just a big month in general. For me, I could say Ara. I could say that the biggest 2 or 3 for me already just hit, like all on the same within 2 days of each other with Age.
Did you say Shattered Space in that list too?
No, it's not on this list.
No.
But it is September.
Yeah.
Also,
actually, that's my new top number 1 then.
Yeah. Shattered Space.
Yeah. Fuck. Why isn't it here?
I
They
don't
have
know.
other expansions on here.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought, I was thinking through everything that you said. I was like, I don't think I heard him say Shattered Space.
Yeah. I was when I was looking at a different list earlier, that one was on there. I was like, oh yeah. Fuck, that's this month too. Crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, they were listening to IGN too much about how people forgot about Starfield.
They forgot about it.
Did you see that article today?
What was it? What
Shattered Space save Starfield?
Oh my fuck! Really?
Insider Gaming too. Not Henderson
my
didn't write
God.
it. The Henderson didn't write it himself, so he's off the hook.
Is it
but
the
his
same
boy
guy
did.
that wrote the article?
Yeah,
I already forgot about Starfield 3 months after it came out.
Don't think
Probably.
it was the same guy. I don't think so. No,
because that
not.
was the same site that had that article.
Yeah, I know. They just, again, it's amazing. Everybody had to remind him that single player games don't need saving. Like, this isn't a multiplayer game. This isn't a games as a service multiplayer game.
If okay, so let's say like Astrobot has like a low player.
Does that mean
base
Spider-Man
a
2's
year
dead
from
because
now,
hardly anybody's playing it anymore?
Will they say does it need saving
yes.
if there's an expansion? Like, I don't understand.
Right.
It's this weird conversation, man. It's like it's a strange conversation.
People just can't let Starfield fucking go. It's crazy, man. It's crazy for how many people just absolutely say the game's trash. They can't let it fucking go.
So their girl, they're not going to.
I know.
Man.
Why aren't they asking what could have saved Concord?
Because it's already, what's
It's already dead.
That game doesn't even exist. I don't know what you're talking about.
They actually had such a failure, they had to shut down the game, and they're not even talking about that. Instead, they're talking about, will something that is successful be saved by a hugely anticipated expansion? I don't understand the concept of the thought processes behind this. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Bait.
They didn't even wait until the end of the day to shut down the servers. They did it first thing in the morning. So they were about that business.
Well, because nobody was even playing anymore. Everybody was just jumping off, trying to get enough XP to get platinum. That's all the game turned into, is everybody jumping off the sides.
Comedically Inclined says, I blame Bethesda and Todd Howard for getting people's hopes up too high. Blame them for what? There's no problem.
Blame what?
Like,
I blame what? It's like 15 million people have played Starfield.
The only thing you can do is look at the people living in this alternate reality. That's like the people live in this alternate reality where Starfield is some kind of failure. And it's so strange, man. It's the same thing.
Because it's not Skyrim. Because it was not Skyrim, it's a failure.
No, because it's not on PlayStation.
Well, okay. Well, that's a different side, but yes. But I'm just saying, like, overall, it's because it didn't take off like Skyrim, so it's automatically a failure. No, that's not how any of this fucking works, people. It's not. It's just so stupid. It's the dumbest shit ever. It's like all those years that everybody said Fallout 4 sucked and was a failure. Like, look at me now. Look at me now. And look at how many people continue to play that damn game forever. Like, this concept that there's just certain expectations for certain studios that are so beyond everybody else's expectations. It's just completely dumb. Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? They set the bar. They win multiple games of the years. They create some franchises that people consider the GOATs of all fucking time. And then all of a sudden they have a game out that doesn't, for some people, raise the bar. For some people, the numbers are like, oh, well, they're not selling as much. Well, no, they're on Game Pass. They're owned by Xbox now. They're not on PlayStation. They're not going to sell as much. Well, there's not as many people playing. Yeah, no, there's not. But that doesn't mean shit. Fallout 4 for years languished. Again, that's not how Bethesda games work all the damn time. But all of a sudden now it's a failure. It's man. Again, this is the conversation. This is what journalists do. This is the same sentiment that goes around in the gaming community now. That's just really, really weird. Nobody's playing God of War Ragnarok right now. Nobody's playing Spider-Man 2 right now. Are those failures? Nobody. Nobody's talking about them.
What could save it? Pong?
Right. what could save it? Like,
more free DLC,
weird, man.
What could save it?
It's weird. Again, there's just certain expectations for certain games and publishers that are so wildly inaccurate, and especially once they're acquired by Xbox, that it's like, oh, well, fuck. They're done. Again, how many people said Bethesda's done and over with? Their formula is tired. It's old. They can't. They're not adapting for the modern audience. Good. I don't want them to. Anyways, sorry. I just think it's.
I'm wondering what the reports or what the articles are going to be like if Grand Theft Auto 6 doesn't outsell Grand Theft Auto 5 in the first couple of years. Well, for like in the same time frame of when 5 sold, because I think it reached 75 million copies within the first 2 years or something. Wondering if the articles will be like, "Oh, Rockstar is finished," or Take-Two is lost its way, or they probably won't say anything about it. But my gut feeling is that that's going to be a game that doesn't do as well as its predecessor, but everybody will be okay with it.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah,
it's just so weird, like the narratives that get created, that because they get pushed and pushed and pushed, this perception gets so out there that it becomes some kind of like a fucking reality. You know what I mean? And that's what people earlier in the chat were asking, like, why do you guys care what games media says so much? Or why are we talking about what games media says and stuff? It's like, yeah, it's like
they still control the narrative.
100%.
Shit out of it.
And it spreads. Like, regardless, yeah, sometimes things go and like it doesn't matter. Right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't matter. But like sometimes they have an effect. And sometimes they try and dig ditches for games before they even come out.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
We saw this numerous times. And sometimes things get free passes, and it's just like we try and champion like an even playing field of coverage and like things that like, hey, there's all different kinds of games, there's all different kinds of platforms, all different kinds of things, and like let's have an even playing field to where different genres can be celebrated equally. Different kinds of gamers matter. It's not just one specific kind. It's just not the mentality of like what they think is important. They don't necessarily speak for what the actual players are playing, and a lot of times, it creates these perceptions, and it can be damaging. Like the perceptions that are created a lot of times by this small group of people that get spread around, it can actually be damaging to games potentially getting sequels, to the games succeeding themselves, to the actual franchises having um, a chance to actually develop into something. And sometimes it also gives too much hype and excitement and to things that are just serious problems with, right? And those get overlooked, and that can be a detriment to consumers as well. I've seen both sides of the spectrum, but it's usually kind of weird because they all kind of like all piggyback off the same mindsets and stuff. And you see social agendas and stuff as well pushed, and narratives in that regard as well that can be damaging to the games and stuff. And they pick and choose when to care about developers and when not to. Specifically, like regarding games like Suicide Squad, where they say that games like that shouldn't even deserve to exist, and then a game like Concord, hey, we need to be really chill with these guys. We should feel bad for the developers, right? It just contradictory shit all the damn time, and I kind of get sick of that stuff. That's why I call it out, because if people don't actually point these things out, then you just keep blindly accepting whatever they're saying as like the reality, and it's just not the world we actually live in. The narratives that get pushed time and time again by this small group of people gets accepted too much as the reality, and it's just not. So trying to put the light where it's deservedly so. Anyway, man, but yeah, September is fucking crazy. And I think Starfield will have a resurgence of players for sure when Shattered Space comes out. It definitely doesn't need to be saved. I guarantee you that they have probably within a 24-hour period just on Steam alone, more players than Concord ever even got on Steam, right? And that got shut down. Why aren't people talking about that? Why are they still talking about Starfield? Why we're like so fucking crazy, man.
It is.
It is so fucking crazy to me. And I've seen people in the comments on some of the other shows like, you don't just pin. I've seen some of the games media go hard on Concord and all this. I've seen it harder than Redfall. Oh, this is fucking bullshit. Oh my god! Like the articles that these guys, there's like, hey, let's analyze. Let's
the titles.
Let's analyze what happened with the Concord.
Anyway.
This is what probably happened with it. I saw one, the 10 reasons why Concord may have failed. Right? Like Redfall situation. Phil Spencer deserves to be fired. Like a Redfall situation. Hey, what happened? Xbox has huge problem in the putting out games. Like first big game is a failure for this generation. Like there's tons and tons of like negativity, right? And yeah, it was a buggy game. Guess what? You can still fucking play it today. You can still fucking play it, and it got better, and they worked on it and stood behind it, right? Like the fact that we were right that if they had a failure of a game and that shit would be shut down, it should be talked about. It's like what happens with their other ambitions in that genre. Everybody just wants to say, hey, move on, let it go. We're going to celebrate other kinds of games, and because that's what again fits their idea of what they want, right? It's not necessarily going to be what everybody wants, right? So it's not necessarily a good thing. And Hiroki Totoki was probably hoping Concord would be a big franchise for them. As they said, they need to invest in more IP. and more things. But hence the transmedia thing that's coming out with that show that was announced for Amazon Prime. That's actually going to include an episode based on Concord. You're actually going to have an episode of a show based on Concord on a game that actually only lasted fucking 2 weeks. More people are going to see that episode that even fucking ever even like cared to play the game.
People will be asking, "Hey, I would like to play this game. Where can I play it?" You can't. Sorry.
Cygnus says, "I think it's your algorithm. I keep seeing Concord." Yeah, I don't know anything about fucking algorithms and shit. So, I wish I did. I don't ever pay attention to that shit. But
let's put it this way: if you're seeing Concord and the servers are shut down, are you seeing ghosts?
I'm sure it's really good for our algorithm to talk to a game that nobody ever gave a shit about. That's really good for our algorithm. Talk about a game that not even 25,000 people bought. Like, no, nobody gives a shit about Concord. And it's not good for the algorithm to talk about Concord, but it deserves to be talked about. It deserves to be discussed. It doesn't deserve to be whitewashed. Like, just have, like, pull the blanket over your eyes and, hey, let's just focus over here. It deserves fair criticism. But anyway, yeah, it doesn't get any easier for us in October because, like, I was looking at the list just after September, and okay, so you have why does this exist? The Until Dawn remaster. And these devs already started getting laid off before they even put this thing out, man.
Yeah. I don't know.
Was this a hope to like save the studio to do a remaster on it or something? Like I don't.
No. Somebody thought it was a great idea.
I remember hearing something that there was some sort of spiteful issue between the studio and Sony because they were producing some of their content on other platforms.
Really?
And Sony didn't like that, and they wanted to shut them down. I remember hearing that like months ago, like maybe even a year ago, that Sony was pissed off that that studio put other games on other platforms, and they were intending to shut them down.
Weird.
So it makes sense that they're closing now. So I don't know if they worked them to the bone and it's like, hey, this will be your last task to do this remake, and then we're cutting the lights off. No more funding, kind of thing. But I don't know.
Interesting.
This feels weird.
Yeah. So it's weird, man. So the Until Dawn, we already talked about the huge Starfield expansion, but then we got Diablo 4 expansion on October 8th, Vessel of Hatred, which I'm going to be fucking diving into big time on that. I really want to play as the new class. Then Silent Hill 2 Remake. Where are we sitting on this, guys? Because some of the more recent stuff maybe looks a little bit better than we saw with the original things, but it's still looking like nowhere near.
I'm happy for the fans, obviously, to be able to play it. It's Bloober, right? We have seen it, right? It's not going to be the greatest thing ever, right? But do I think it's going to be playable? Do I think it's going to be decently good for the Silent Hill fans? Yeah, I do. Is it going to be this massive comeback tour of Silent Hill? Probably not. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But do I think it's going to do fairly well just for all the people that want to play an updated version? Yeah, I do. Because I think it's got enough to it that it's going to happen. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be like the only thing I always, whenever I see footage of this game, I see what Capcom does with the Resident Evil remakes.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, like comparison wise, like this comparatively to even such an old game that like could been brought to life in such a different way. But it doesn't mean it's going to be bad. It could be fun. Like I still look at it and I get that like nostalgia-esque, like old school horror game vibes with it, right? So it could be fun. It's just I wish it went as far as Capcom it does with their remakes. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is going to be a big one for a lot
It's
of
gonna
people.
be massive for the fighting fans, for the Dragon Ball fans. It's gonna be massive. Yeah, that'll be big.
And then the same day, Metaphor Refantasio. Yep. Do we think that Metaphor has a chance to be as big as Persona?
Down the road,
that's a task.
Down the road, yes. Out the gate, no. As a new IP, no. But down the road, let's say the first one does relatively good numbers for them, and they decide to make this a franchise and come out with another one, yes, then I think it could. From what everybody's saying, it separates itself. It uses the Persona formula, but it takes it out of high school, which you hate, Mav, and some people do not necessarily like that formula, but it takes the overall formula and moves it into what people are saying is a very unique world and realm, and shows that formula actually can translate elsewhere too. So if the characters come close, because that's the thing that drives Persona, right?
Yeah.
It's the characters. It's the writing and it's the characters. That's what drives Persona. People fall in love with the individual characters. They fall in love with the relationships between the characters, etc. That's really what drives Persona. If they can recreate that in Metaphor, which is hard to tell from videos and trailers and stuff until you actually get to play it and kind of get an understanding of all these different characters. If that does happen, then yes, down the road, I think I've said it already, and I'll continue to say it. I think this could be their next big franchise. Yes, I think Atlas has got another winner on their hands here.
Yeah, I look at this as their Final Fantasy chance to like own that fantasy JRPG genre, because it looks like what I want to play. You know what I mean? And that's what I've been craving for a long time. So I'm looking forward to it.
The UI alone is just absolutely so stunning. It's I don't know if I've ever used stunning for a UI in a video game before. This is the first time I've ever said stunning for a UI. This is totally applicable. This is what I would consider stunning for a UI. It is moving art. And I don't understand why all the other developers don't look at this and go, we got to step up our game on our UI. It's also, the other one is, we just talked about it, Mav. I'm getting that same type of feeling from, Old Brain 33. Obscura. Obscura. That UI too, the in the battles and stuff, that UI is jumping off the screen for me as well, like crazy. Like, anyway, sorry.
Yeah,
it's just so gorgeous, man.
When I see that game, it's like, man, it makes you want to grab the controller and play that sequence.
Yeah.
So, also the same day, you have, Star Troopers Extermination. Y'all remember seeing this game for the first time at one of the game shows? I think this one's going to be a little jank, to be honest with you. Like, from seeing the footage, but it could be fun, right? I don't know.
Multi-platform Helldivers too.
Yeah. What's Transformers Galactic Trials?
Isn't that thing we saw that's
like the
that the kart racer? Oh,
okay. Yeah.
I've always said it would be cool to get a Transformers type kart racer or a racer kind of game. But this looked kind of like, I don't know when I saw that. Hey, Fuzzy, also on the same fucking day. Undisputed.
Yep.
It's getting its official launch for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. You've been playing the shit out of this game for a while.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure you'll be copping that.
Yeah, they got, well, I already have the early access version, so yeah. But they're going to do a lot of 1.0 updates as far as like the movement, punching variation, as far as like the power behind it. If you're on foot or off foot or on your back foot kind of thing. They won't have holding, or at least to my knowledge, they'll have more of a push. But if you're looking for a good boxing, resurgence kind of thing, like back to almost like the, Fight Night days, but with more fluid movement, this is it. This is going to be big.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can keep up with the update games because I have a feeling they're probably going to get a better reception than they anticipate.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to trying it for sure. Umbra says, well. Who do we have here podcasting on the day of Astrobot? 3 people that don't really care to play Astrobot.
Pretty much.
I mean, I'm looking forward to playing it at some point in the future. Like I already sold my PS5 because it was collecting dust, and I wanted to get the most money for it that I could before the announcement of PS5 Pro. Because when GameStop was having that promotional offer, I got like over $300 for it. And knowing the PS5 Pro is probably going to get announced here coming up, what I'm hoping is they have the PS5 Pro show in later this month, like is being predicted, and they actually have some really cool shit that gets me excited, right? And at that point, then I may dive back in to getting a PlayStation again, and I'll get Astrobot sometime when it's like on sale, like in the future. I may have to wait a long time for that one to be on sale. It seems like they're kind of mostly trying to do like what Nintendo does and put their big franchises on sale very often, but it will eventually, and then I'll probably get it. I just don't care enough to pay $60 for it. I would maybe on a big Mario game day and date on a Switch 2, but I just don't care about the Astrobot character. I tried the demo stuff. I tried the other thing. Everybody loved Astro's Playroom when the PS5 came out. I didn't really like it too much. So I don't know if this is going to be kind of similar to that or not. You know, I watched some gameplay. It looks like it's a much bigger experience than that, but it just gameplay wise and stuff for me, it just didn't resonate with me like it did a lot of other people. But regardless, October is still not going to be over. After Undisputed, at that day of the 11th, which we have Dragon Ball, Metaphor, Starship Troopers, that Transformers game, and Undisputed all on the same fucking day. We have, hey, remember this franchise, Pong, Romancing Saga 2?
Yes.
That is actually coming out on PC, PS4, PS5, and Switch. Revenge of the Seven, October 24th.
Nice.
The day before Call of Duty Black Ops 6.
Yep.
Everybody was like, hey, we're in a rut with gaming, and we had a huge amount of games to launch in the first half of this year that was very popular, very successful. And then the second half this year, we already talked about September and the 3 games that launched today or whatever, and then also the Age of Mythology on the 4th. Just absolute bananas.
Again, most people don't even remember Dragon's Dogma 2 launched this year. That's how crazy it's been.
Yeah, that's
like most people don't even remember that. Like that was just a little bit ago. Like that was that long.
On the same day of Call of Duty, you have Sonic X Shadow Generations. It looks pretty cool. You also have 4 days after that, the new Life is Strange game that looks really good. Then you have 2 days after that on Halloween, Dragon Age: The Veilguard, which I'm personally going to be really looking forward to. Are you going to play that, Fuzz? Or
Probably. It'll be my first Dragon Age. Didn't really care for like high fantasy stuff prior. I'll wind up giving it a try. Love, what do you call it? Mass Effect Andromeda. Love the Mass Effect trilogy. Dragon Age. I probably should play some of the older ones, but I like what I've seen so far as the trailers and the different companions and things like that they have for the story. So it's on the radar, but given that it's EA, I'm gonna wait until after the launch day to see if it needs a patch. If they say the word patch for it, then it's waiting until after the new year. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be playing it probably that day, and then I know Pong's waiting. We'll see if you get
zero
FOMO.
interest right now.
What if it comes out and it's like, oh, it's game of the year? It has like 93 on beta. Just still don't
Nope.
care? Okay.
Well, I mean, I'll watch videos and I'll watch people play it.
Yeah,
right?
you'll probably watch some of.
But again, none of the characters do anything for me. So honestly, it's not that right there kills it because that's what Dragon Age is about, and
Yeah.
they're focusing even more on the characters. Like that's the relationships and shit. That's what they're going for. They're going for that Baldur's Gate 3 stuff. Even though I didn't like all the Baldur's Gate characters, like there was enough of the characters that I did enjoy, and because I could kill the ones I didn't like, I'm cool with Baldur's Gate 3. They're not gonna let you do that in Dragon Age, but there's just not one of them that even appeals to me a little bit. So that's the difference. But I hope, like I said, I hope it crushes in some way because that gives me hope for Mass Effect. So the new Mass Effect that they're working on. So cross my fingers. But I'll wait until EA play.
You know what's interesting is like Avowed still they decided, hey, we need to move out of this year, and they were slated for November, right? But like really, I just looking ahead with this year, like November and December are pretty like open.
I mean, there's some big stuff.
There's some big stuff. I'm gonna go.
That's why I said.
But like
again, if they needed more time. They needed more time, but they all said it wasn't because of time. Right? Exactly. That's my problem.
That's not what they said. which we kind of speculated. Hey, they didn't probably need more time, but like,
right.
Now there are some big releases later in the month, but it's for Xbox also as well. But in general, like, I don't know. Like it's
it would have been fine. It would have been more than fine
comparatively to these other months, right? You have in November, you have Mario and Luigi Brothership, which is a big release for Switch. That's not going to interfere, right? You have Slitterhead. Some people looking forward to Slitterhead.
It's going to be weird and crazy. Yeah.
Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake.
Yep, let's fucking go. It's going to be beautiful.
On the 14th.
Yep.
Okay, and then you have the 15th, 19th, and 20th. You have 3 big releases. Okay, but before that, not like really with only the things I mentioned, which are like kind of some big releases, except not like huge things, not anything that would ever get in the way of something like an Avowed. But 15th, 19th, and 20th, you have Assassin's Creed Shadows is the 15th. Flight Sim on the 20th. On the 19th, that would also get in the way of Avowed. I'm just gonna say they could launch literally Flight Sim and Avowed the same fucking day.
No.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. And it's Stalker 2 the 20th. So the 15th and the 20th are really the only 2 days or like that time span where I could see like, okay, maybe you want to postpone just because those are, Ubisoft is a partner. You got marketing on this, all that other kind of stuff. The 20th, you got Stalker 2, but like. You could go late November. You could go a week before Assassin's Creed Shadows, and you could be good, for November.
Early November would, if it was not needing timing or not needing additional time, November 1st would have been like their golden opportunity to shine, and that would have given them 2 weeks of all the fanfare before they have to worry about their partner with Assassin's Creed. So
then in December it's also like open as hell. Like Marvel Rivals is December 6th. Indiana Jones is December 9th. Other than that, you have nothing really for December. So there's going to be other games get announced for November, December. There has to be. Because like just comparing like what we have for September and October to like November and December. November is usually a bigger month, right? So I'm thinking maybe at Tokyo Game Show or at some other kind of thing, or maybe the PlayStation show or something. Like I don't know. We're gonna have some other announcements for November or early December. I'm not sure. But
interesting if Final Fantasy 16 comes to PC and Xbox at the same time, and that's slotting in, which Phil would have known about that and could have moved Avowed for that, right? That makes more sense. Like if like that would be a big, because it is going to be big if it's day and date on PC and Xbox, and they just haven't announced the Xbox side of things yet. But that happens this year. Yeah, I could see why they would have done it then, right? Because you want to give that partner that you've been waiting on for a very long time. You're going to give them we'll move our game
for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
But would that also raise the chance that that game would be coming to Game Pass?
Yes. And I could
That'd be
see it
awesome.
again.
Yeah.
Square needs to build that fan base up. Like I said,
Right.
and I don't think it's going to be a long-term Game Pass deal. But for the short term, again, that's what Atlas did with the Persona series, and now they have a solid fan base on Xbox.
It's what
Square's
Sega
gonna have to
did.
do
Yakuza, they did that. They
the Yakuza. Yep.
also Square's done it themselves with Octopath, right?
Mhm.
And Dragon Quest come into Game Pass in the past.
Yes, we had Dragon Quest. The last one came into
11, right?
Yes, came into Game Pass. Yep, it was after it, not day one. It came out after.
It was okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, man. I mean, that's the interesting one because that would add some more like, hey, we need to move stuff around. Yeah, because that's another RPG. Well,
yes,
the 16's kind of RPG, but
and like I said, you would want to get Square new partnership. Like, I could see why they would back away and just say, hey, go ahead. You guys take the spotlight. That's fine. We want you to take the spotlight here, Square. Thank you. I mean, all things considered, it's a mutual partnership, but at the same time, Phil's been working on this for so damn long. I can see why he would bend the knee a little bit and do it.
And just real quick, I mean, that just kind of takes us into Tokyo Game Show where they just did make their plans known for that. They before rumors were going that, hey, they're not showing up to Tokyo Game Show this year. This is really weird. And remember, we all were talking about that and stuff because reports were coming out. And then all of a sudden, now here, Asian Games in the Spotlight, the Xbox broadcast returns to Tokyo Game Show 2024. The Tokyo Game Show 2024 broadcast returns on Thursday, September 26th at 3 a.m. Pacific time, 6 a.m. Eastern. We warmly welcome players around the world to tune in. We share content from Xbox Game Studios, Activision, Blizzard, and Bethesda. We'll also showcase an exciting lineup of games from third-party partners, primarily based in Japan and across Asia, including games coming to Game Pass. This year's broadcast will be available on the Tokyo Game Show's official YouTube channel. Let's see. Every year, Tokyo Game Show logo is redesigned to showcase a unique Japan-inspired theme. This year, the iconic... I don't need to talk about the fucking logo. Okay, we can't wait to bring our Tokyo Game Show 2024 broadcast to players from Japan, across Asia, and the world to celebrate the amazing games that creators are building for Xbox consoles, PC, and cloud. So yeah, there's gonna have some kind of announcements and streams regarding games from third-party partners coming to Game Pass, and also from their first-party studios. So, hell yeah, looking forward to that. And they are showing up to Tokyo Game Show. I don't know how big it'll be. I don't think it's going to be like Gamescom, right? Where they just like pretty much took over the showcase and also had the entire show floor to themselves almost is what it seemed like. But Tokyo Game Shows, I think we're going to see something interesting because there's a lot of smoke. I didn't catch Xbox 2 today, but Jez has been putting out a lot of smoke on Twitter about possibility of some kind of a Final Fantasy announcement or something going on here. So we'll see. I have faith in a lot of his reports and stuff, so we could see that soon. Y'all looking forward to anything specific for Tokyo Game Show, Buzz?
I mean, I would like to hear more about OD. I felt that game should be closer to release than what it seems that they're talking about, considering it was originally for Stadia and it was already in the works kind of thing. So I would assume that it would be closer than, let's say, Death Stranding 2. So I'd like to see that. I'm hoping that we get a surprise as far as one of the studios that they've been working with in Japan. It'd be nice if we get that as a, one more thing. Maybe it comes out before the end of the year or the very beginning of next year kind of deal. Something totally not even known as far as project name or anything like that. But I would like to see, although I know it doesn't necessarily go with the Tokyo Game Show, but I still want to see Project Shaolin because I just think it's a cool concept that they have in the back pocket kind of deal. But outside of that, I don't know. I think the biggest thing you guys hit on earlier is that Final Fantasy 16 coming to PC and Xbox and potentially even Game Pass. I think that would be a huge enough announcement. I'm pretty sure the PlayStation crowd will downplay it. Oh, well, yeah, we had it earlier, whatever. But it's now going to be either in the game service or at least on the console. But OD is like the main thing I'm looking forward to. And anything more that we can get from any of the devs that they've been working with over, like between Phil and Sarah flying over there nonstop numerous times. Let's see some of the fruits of the work that they've put out there and see what they have to show.
Yeah, right on, man. And what about you, Pong?
Yeah, I mean, all the general stuff, but Tokyo Game Show is always good for a couple surprises, and the way that, because it's not just Japan, obviously, it's South Korea, it's China. The way everybody's been blowing up over there, this gets me even more excited because we could see some new stuff. First of all, the stuff I would like to see, a Pearl Abyss. Obviously, I'd love to see more Crimson Desert. And Mav, a game that we freaked out about that is so stupid, but we freaked out about because we thought it was so damn cool, but we haven't seen it in years now, is Doke V. Yeah. Let's get an update on Doke V. They say they're still working on it. Like, it's still in production. So let's get an update on Doke V, bro. Bro, it looks so crazy. I just remember the family, we were just dying. It was so cool. Anyways, so stuff like that. But really, for me, it's going to be the surprise games that come out of nowhere because now we now have a track record going, and it's not that it's going to be 100% all the damn time, but we now have a track record that their indie scene over there, what we would consider indie scene, is putting out AAA budget shit. Okay? However they're doing it, they're doing it. Black Myth Wukong, again, yes, it has its issues, but let's just face it. Like, everything they showed us, it even came out better than what they were showing us when people thought it was bullshit, right? So we have a pretty good track record here of teams from over there that come out of nowhere, first time teams together, putting together amazing games. And I don't think that's going to stop. I think investment is heavy over there. Obviously, we know PlayStation has their Chinese investment, which is producing 5 games for them. Maybe Xbox has some more investments like Fuzzy was talking about that we haven't heard of yet that we do get to see. But I'm just going to be waiting to see some of those unknowns show up and come out of Tokyo Game Show, where we see some screenshots or maybe some quick teasers where everybody's like, oh my God, there's no way that's real, blah, blah, blah. And then we start hearing about the dev and what they've been doing. And all of a sudden we start getting closer. We see more and it's like, oh shit, they are going to make this happen. Like, this is really going to work. Let's see how the game comes out. So I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Stellar Blade get announced for PC here. I'd love to get a date on Stellar Blade when it's coming to PC. I can't wait for that. Even if it's next year. So, and real quick too, Cygnus in the chat is bringing up some good points too, Mav. Next year, not to totally change the subject here, but next year, Mav, could be a massive year for comic book games. There's a lot in the cooker right now, right? We know we're going to get Marvel 1943, right? Which is looking ridiculous, even as a non-fan. Like, I want to play it, right? But there's Black Panther game in the works. There's 2 Black Panther games in the works. No, because Hydra's one of them. There's Black Panther game in the works. There's an Iron Man game in the works. There's a Wonder Woman game that's been in the works. Bro, we could get like a bunch. You could get like 2-3 comic book games next year on top of everything else we got coming out next year. It could be a massive year for comic book fans. It'd be kind of dope.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll probably see more of Blade 2 next year at some point too. Not
yes,
that it's out, but we'll see more.
Yeah, that one I'm really intrigued about because like what we've heard about sounds really fucking cool and stuff. So
yeah,
looking forward to that one. And yeah, I think there was some new leaked footage of Wolverine that has me
Jesus,
kind of maybe like
I'm done. It's gonna be an Insomniac Wolverine.
Yeah.
Okay. Take that, whatever it is. If you love Insomniac Spider-Man, you probably will love Insomniac Wolverine. So take that for how it is. For me, it's like, what are we doing? But anyway, sorry, man.
Yeah, I was always curious what they were gonna do with Wolverine. And I was hopeful they would kind of do something different.
Totally different. Right.
Because Insomniac's a super talented studio. They can do many different things.
Yes.
And I was hoping like, okay, we'll see like what direction they're gonna go. Maybe because they're gonna surprise us, And the teaser like was like, wow, that looks like intriguing. Like it looks like it could be, But then like we see all this leaked footage and stuff, and like I'm like, oh, it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like, I know it's leaked footage and it's not like representative.
No, it's gonna look great when it comes out. Like, it's not gonna look,
but good, just that's not like the gameplay and stuff is not like really what I wanted to experience like with a Wolverine game, So that's kind of dampened my hype a little bit about that. And then like I start thinking about, okay, well, is this just what the whole Spider-Man, then the Wolverine, then X-Men thing is going to be for them, because like a dream for mine is to have a full-fledged huge AAA X-Men game, and that was in the Insomniac leaks, right?
Yeah.
And is it going to be more of just the same thing again? Then that has me even, I don't know.
And you get the Venom DLC next year too, so definitely comic book fans are gonna be eating good next year. But yeah, the Wolverine
for sure.
Yeah,
but the good thing is we'll be a lot of variety from other developers and stuff in the genres. Like because Insomniac's been carrying that torch for a while now. Yeah, but we're gonna have like
But Marvel 1943 looks
it looks really cool. So like maybe I won't feel as stale with it, experiencing these other games from these other developers and all that kind of stuff, right? But yeah, man.
XL 2 early access is November 2.
Yeah. Fuck, dude.
Fuck.
Backlog be damned.
There is no such thing. There's no such thing. There's no such thing.
Indiana Jones is still probably like right now my most anticipated, like for just I'm really curious. We actually watched all the Indiana Jones movies again recently, and doing that I'm like really fucking hyped now to play the game because it seems so true to the original trilogy. And it like fits within there. So that has me super excited. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. I hope you guys all have a great night in the chat, and if you have a PlayStation and you're playing Astrobot, I hope you have a blast. If you're on a PC or Xbox or PlayStation, and you're playing Space Marine 2 tonight, I hope you have a blast. If you got a PC or an Xbox and you're playing Age of Mythology Retold, I hope you have a blast. Or whatever it is you guys are playing, I hope you're having a great time, because there's a shit ton of amazing games out there right now. But Fuzzy, tell everybody where they can find you, sir.
Just always thank you for having me on. This was awesome being on here with you too. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Greatly appreciate you guys interacting with us and just hanging out. And for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app, formerly known as Twitter, at Fuzzy_Belvedere. Me and Pong and PTK will be on Shop Podcast tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight, or Saturday night. Not sure if 3-Bit gets back. I thought he was leaving Paris, but we'll see if we do PXE on Sunday. But look forward to seeing everybody right back here in this chat. FSP Friday, or actually Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look forward to seeing you guys there. Thanks again.
Thanks, Fuzz. And Pong Soul, what about you, sir?
Yes, sir. Man, what a great night. Great to be here with you guys. Just a great day of gaming today. I actually got to pop into Call of Duty betas open again, so popped in that for a little bit as well. It's feeling fantastic, bro.
It is.
And you get to level up more.
I'm not a huge fan of Babylon.
I have not played Babylon.
I played Babylon and Domination. That thing was just a fucking shit fest, man. Oh my god. Like it's just running to be and die, run
Yeah.
into me and die, and it was like, oh my god.
I love those.
Yeah, I know that can be a
Sometimes
lot
they're
of
not-
fun. Some people
Yeah,
love the
they can
small
be.
maps. I'm not
Yeah.
a big small.
I'm
map
not a huge
fan.
fan of small maps, but some of them can be. Like it's fine. I can't wait to try it. Yeah, I did not get into a match with that though yet. So
Yeah, give it a go. It's interesting.
but everything's feeling good, and they actually open a couple more weapons up that you can earn as you level up and that kind of stuff. And I think there's some more rewards to earn as well for those of you interested. But it was feeling great today. Hopped in, found matches right away. Everything was good to go. So game's still on my radar. Is going to be a big one this year. It's going to be one of the best Call of Duties we've seen in a long time, multiplayer wise, for sure.
How do you think the media reception is going to be to Black Ops?
I think it's gonna be. I think it overwhelmingly is gonna be positive.
Yeah.
Just because that's the sentiment out there right now is that everybody's loving it, and the journalists, even if they want to shit on something, generally speaking, if it's already built in that the audience is going, no, this is really, really great, they tend to shy away from going against that. So we'll see. But I don't think there's any way around. And I think a lot of the journalists are honestly going to like it anyways, because it does feel like a freaking awesome Call of Duty.
Yeah.
That's not a joke. So, I can't wait. I mean, obviously we'll see if they do the reviews, which they always do separate from the campaign versus the multiplayer or whatever. We'll see. But yeah, anyways, great Friday night, everybody. So you guys know how to find me, Pong Soul, everywhere. So follow me and I'll follow you back. And then remember, tomorrow morning, not a normal living split screen. Steel and I will be live, but we are going to be streaming more Space Marine 2. So if you don't care about spoilers, obviously, because we're playing through the campaign straight up. So if you don't care about that and you just want to hang out and chill with us, drop on by, right? So we're still watching chat. Steel especially is watching chat. I got up on my phone, so I check it every once in a while. So we're still talking and gabbing with you guys and just having a great time. Steel and I do get into the story, so we go quiet when there's story time. But that's what we're doing for Living Split Screen tomorrow. So we told you all this is what we're going to do. We're having such a blast today. We can't wait to hop back in tomorrow morning. So join us tomorrow morning for another stream of Space Marine 2. It's freaking amazing. And then, of course, as Fuzzy said, tomorrow night, Shop Podcast. Best way to end your Saturday night. PTK Blam's channel. So it's Blam, it's Fuzzy, it's myself. And because we're not doing an actual living split screen, Steel's going to roll on through the Shop Podcast tomorrow night. So Steel will be joining us, so you'll get a little living split screen action right there. 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Have us on in the background while you're playing some freaking amazing games. And next week it starts all over again. Of course, you got to check out Double Barrel Gaming. Got to check out the man, Mr. Boomstick. Over 6 million views because he does this thing 5 days a week. The hard work pays off, everybody. But Xbox Factor Podcast every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Check out the crew. And then my week starts on Thursdays. Next week, right here, PM in the PM. Pong and Mav in the PM. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. See you all then. Listen, guys, it's the golden age of gaming. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Please, like Mav said, tons and tons to play. Get out there. Play what you love. Love what you play. Just enjoy it, man. We'll talk to y'all real soon. Mav, get us out of here, brother.
Have a good one, everybody. Look forward to some maybe some Call of Duty streams this weekend or something. Don't know. Maybe
We'll hop into some Space Marine 2 PvP.
Yes, that'll happen.
Or something.
Yes, absolutely. Have a good one, everybody. Peace out. Have a good night. Thank you.